Jigs and Bigs is proud to announce we're being supported by Old Glory Outdoors. They're a veteran-owned company that carries fishing and hunting gear. Plus, they're highly active in supporting veteran organizations and charities. Old Glory is an authorized dealer of favorite rods, FX rods, Guggen baits, X-Zone lures, Sixth Sense, and many more. There's a brick-and-mortar store located in East Brookfield, Massachusetts, but you can also order online at oldgloryoutdoors.com. They ship anywhere in the lower 48 states or order online and pick up at the store. When you order, use the promo code JIGS and Bigs and you'll save 10% off your complete order. Plus, you'll help support the show. Make sure to check out the apparel line called OGO Gear while you're there. Old Glory Outdoors believes in the slogan "Start 'em young" to keep kids away from screens and enjoying nature. They've got a full array of live bait too. Check out oldgloryoutdoors.com and use the promo code JIGS and Bigs. Save some money and gear up now. Hey, what's up, everybody? Bobby Roast Beef here for another edition of Jigs and Bigs. I got we're recording today on location. On location at your house, Sean.
Casa de Dominic hosting today.
Yeah,
it's good stuff.
It's nice. It's very nice. So we've got a whole lot lined up for this this episode for you guys. I mean, when I say a whole lot, I really mean we've got a bunch of stuff for you. We're going to start things out. We're going to intro the show. We got a few notes that we want to talk about, things that we want to make sure get covered. We'll cover all that stuff. And then we have a little powwow we're going to have with our Chronic Trips staff of Canna athletes. That'll be here and sharing some input about this. We're going to review the final standings, who the winners are for the Chronic Trips elevated virtual fishing tournament. All kinds of great stuff lined up. Plus, we have Saul from Solifornia, who is our guest in the beef seat today. So don't go anywhere. We've got a whole lot of great stuff coming up. Sean, what do you say we jump right in and go over? I see you've got notes.
Oh, dude, I am so prepared tonight.
No, seriously. That's great.
So, you know, with the format we have going today, you know, we're you and I are recording this now, and in a little bit, the rest of the Chronic Trips team will be popping into the house, and we're going to be talking about the tournament. So, I know with the intro and how today's going to go, we're going to talk a little bit about. Well, I've got a few things, and I think you actually have a couple things as well, don't you? With the did we already talk about who won the giveaway?
We did not talk about the giveaway. You want to start with that?
Why don't we lead into that?
Let's go start with that. So, for those of you that have not necessarily been paying attention to what goes on at Jigs and Bigs, at least in terms of our Instagram, we had a huge week. Last Monday, we went live with a giveaway, and our giveaway was freaking awesome. It really, really was. It was great. We gave away some amazing prizes, and we ran this all via Instagram comments, really, is kind of how it all worked. So let's go and get right into it. So first off, what we had for prizes was a reel, a Corrado K, a Shimano Corrado K, brought to us by our good friends over at Old Glory Outdoors, of course. And we also had a package, like an apparel and sticker pack from Hookset Hoodlums included in there. We had 2 huge Tupperware containers, and this is apparently the new thing in soft plastics that I wasn't aware of, like bulk soft plastics. But what Damien over at Stretching Lines Anglers Gear had done was organize some mixed bags. There's a little bit of everything. So when he pours a bunch of stuff off, there's, you know, some that are extra, things like that. And he put all these things together. So these are baits that people actually want to use. And then the very much, I suppose, no, I don't want to say talked about. I feel like that insists upon itself. But the mysterious Jigs and Bigs official jig kit is also in there. So all that stuff for one fantastic winner. And that winner is Braden Beckham.
Congrats, Braden.
Congrats, Braden. Nice job. How about a round of applause for Braden? And Braden gets all of that stuff. We've already got his information all set to ship everything out to him once everything arrives and is set to go out. On top of that, though, Braden, he's getting all this great stuff, but Braden's going to be on the show. We're going to be recording, and we'll talk to him about, his exciting life and entering Instagram contests and various things like that. Get a little bit of information too about like what his fishing preferences are as well. I think he's going to be a guest in the beef seat is ultimately what this is going to become. So congratulations, Braden, but there are even more congratulations in order. I used an app to run this the giveaway to scan all of the comments and all of the entries that we had put into it. And what we had done was I had selected there to be a substitute because I needed to make sure that whoever did win actually followed all the criteria, followed all the accounts and commented and liked the post. And Braden did. So he won everything else. But I had it automatically choose a substitute. So there would be one ready to go. And that substitute is none other than Delirious Angler. So, Delirious, we're going to be sending you out a Jigs and Bigs official jig kit as well to get you started, and we'll have one of those for you. Well, I'm sure we're going to bump into you before we'd mail it out anyway, so we'll see you around. So that's pretty awesome. Good stuff. Yeah.
Two things on that. Number one, the jigs, all of the pieces are here. So we can actually probably assemble the first two kits tonight later on if you want. I don't care.
Okay,
we can do that. We have 10 of the boxes.
Oh, so we're good for a little while.
So
then.
yeah, so with the way this worked out, so everyone can kind of get a glimpse of what's going on behind the scenes with this jig kit. We assembled everything, and there was a particular type of tackle box that I thought was perfect for this. It was inexpensive. It had it seemed pretty sturdy. And it was at a local retailer, big box. Yeah, they discontinued it. I found like 5 of them throughout New England, and I am not driving all over the place to get tackle boxes.
This is that's the thing about this. This was all in a course of maybe, 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Like, we had seen these and made the decision that, this is the way to go. And, initially, this wasn't the plan for these jig kits to be just done with on Instagram stuff. Like, because of COVID, we're not doing our initial plan of hitting up the sportsman shows and doing giveaways there. That's what we really wanted to be doing with this. So the Instagram stuff was sort of like the second best way to sort of, engage and give away some prizes and do this. But within 3 weeks, we just discovered, we can't find them anywhere. And I mean, scouring the corners of the internet, we've seen some things and we wish we didn't. Hobby Lobby is a very dark place. Let's just leave it at that.
Well, with what happened to find a suitable, box, and I might not even find 20. Jeez. I'm going to take that device away from you. You're out of control.
It handles small plugs, man.
Go ahead, hit it now.
Hang on. So what are you saying? Looking for a suitable enough box?
Yeah, so we found suitable enough tackle boxes. And if we have to make the first 10 one particular brand and the next 5 another, and I don't care.
We'll farm them out. They'll be DIY.
Yeah, I'm going to, what I did decide on doing, though, that I really liked, and we talked about this, and you agreed with me, was for this initial run, we're going to do 25. We're going to number them.
Yep.
So everybody's going to get a numbered one. 1 of 25, 2 of 25, blah, blah, blah.
It'll help you when you want to put them on eBay. The value will increase. We're looking out for you.
Yep. So we're going to do that. Yeah, I'm excited. We got everything. There's actually, if you look, we're in my kitchen right now. If you look down the hall, there's a plastic bag on the door in the laundry room where the dogs are being kept. That bag is all of our fun stuff. We got the jig heads in from Ken the other day.
Nice.
I am excited.
I'm very excited.
So we can take a peek at that after all this recording's done.
Let's do that for sure.
Second thing. So you mentioned the giant jugs of plastics, right?
Yes.
Okay. So with stretching lines, I'm wondering if Damien had any inspiration. And this is going to actually lead. This is just an absolutely gorgeous segue right here. Gorgeous segue.
Okay.
So I was actually out fishing with Andy 2 days ago, wrapping up on the last day of the Chronic Trips tournament. Okay, and this is where this huge news comes in. There's 2 things. All right, here's the little things first. So Andy and I were talking. We were laughing about just kind of the state of the fishing industry now.
Yep.
Compared to where it was when we were growing up.
Oh my God, yes.
So Andy and I laughed because in the 90s, all you had to hope for was that, late winter, early spring day when the gigantic Bass Pro Shops spring catalog arrived at your door.
Oh, yeah.
It was such a good day. And the Cabela's one was usually right after it.
Yep.
That was just, now obviously they're pretty much the same company. But that was such a good day, and we were laughing about that. And thinking about that, when you mentioned that Damien at Stretching Lines is putting together these large quantities of plastics, that was always something that I looked at in those Bass Pro catalogs, because they always had the worm can or the worm tin. Do you remember that?
I think so.
Yeah, it was just
like just a big, like almost like a barrel of worms.
It was like one of those collector tins, like you would get cookies in now for Christmas.
Or popcorn or something like that.
Yeah, but they would be like 1,000 pieces of plastic, and it was some of them were for crappie, some of them was a Grubs. There was a worm one.
Yep.
Of course, they were always loaded up with, at the time. I mean, Bass Pro's big claim to fame at that time with their plastic molding was their old triple ripple stuff, which I think they still even sell. I thought I saw some at Cabela's the other day. Yeah, that's that my mind just drifted there. So I'm going to roll into it, man, if you're ready for this.
Let's do it.
So
lay it on me.
I mentioned going out with Andy. This past week, since the last podcast, I made a couple comments about the bluegill situation I was in, right?
Oh, yeah.
And in the fishing report.
Times is tough.
Yes. Yeah. We'll go for the bluegills first. So I really put more effort into bluegills than I think I have in years. I know there was one time in Minnesota that I did put a ton of effort into bluegills because I volunteered my services for fish fry. So I had to go out and catch bluegills, and I did it. This week has just been such a learning experience for me with large bluegills and how difficult they are to catch in the late fall. And when the cold spells roll through, we had basically, a week apart, 2 back-to-back cold fronts that came through. And honestly, the one that came through this past weekend, I was talking with Andy about it. I cannot remember a cold front that took 2 days to pass through, and then the next day was at post-frontal conditions. So that was 3 days of fishing that we pretty much lost because it was just nasty. It was horrible. The winds were bad. We got a ton of snow up here. It was, I think Boston got close to 2 to 3 inches, right? They got more than us.
Yeah, a little bit more.
So Western Mass got off easy.
Yeah.
And Boston got a little more, and it was rough. But anyways, getting back to fishing with Andy. So on the last day of the Chronic Trips tournament on Halloween, I was out there with Andy, freezing up in the Berkshires, and I reached a level of desperation that you inspired.
Oh.
That you inspired.
Oh.
Yes, this is it. I gave you a teaser when we talked a couple days ago on the phone and said I had something for you. So we had 4 hours to fish, 3 hours or 4 hours to fish. I think we got out there at 3 o'clock. I told Andy I'd meet him out there. Actually, to take a step back, I had called Andy and said, "Hey, man, you want to go fishing?" He's like, "No." Andy has a business on the side where he does what is it? Like wood removal, tree removal, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Cuts up wood, etc. And he said, I got a job. And all I did, I know Andy, I don't pressure him on stuff like that. All I did was send him a little emoji that had the unhappy face with the tear.
Oh, no.
His response was, "Thanks for the peer pressure. I'll see you at the lake in an hour."
There you go.
I said, "Great. What's your coffee order?" So I got him a coffee. We went up there and Andy caught it. The water temperature now in the Berkshire Mountains, I had made mention, I think last week, that the Berkshire,
it was getting low.
Yeah, the Berkshires are pretty much dead for us for open water. Will be soon. So the other day it was 45 on the surface. That's
really that cold already.
Yeah, well,
No
I mean,
kidding.
we had that massive front come through and the rain. That'll drop it. In the Berkshires, I think it was in the 20s overnight. So we got out there. I didn't catch a fish for the first hour and a half, 2 hours. Andy hit a small bass on a lipless crankbait.
Okay.
And he's been killing it with that lipless crank lately.
Yeah, it's
you
been
saw
one of the
that
big ones, yeah.
when you guys went out. Yeah, he caught that, and there was nothing. And then I did the unthinkable. Are you ready for this?
I think I know where this is going.
Do you remember the advice you gave me?
I do remember exactly.
Why don't you tell
the advice.
everyone the advice that you gave me? And I laughed it off.
So I had suggested that Sean, if he's looking to target bluegill, to get some crickets or grasshoppers, what have you, and drop shot them. Did it work?
I didn't buy any crickets.
You didn't buy any crickets? You drop shot a worm?
I drop shot a night crawler.
Yeah.
And I caught 2 5-inch bluegills.
5-inch, damn it.
And I got 2 5-inch bluegills, and I was like, well, this could work. And I started moving around the lake a little bit.
Yep.
And then over in my fridge, I have a 14-inch largemouth who hit a drop-shotted live night crawler.
No kidding.
Which made me absolutely disgusted. I cut the thing off and went home after that. So I finished second to Brock, and I know we're spoiling this a little bit. I finished second to Brock because if I would have caught a bluegill,
You would have taken it.
he had an 8-inch minimum. All right. That's what he had.
Yep.
If I would have gotten 8-inch minimum, I would have tied him. That would have been 3 points.
Yep.
I would have won. I lost by 2
that's
points.
true. Damn.
So that's where that went. I also on a side note,
I can't believe you drop shotted. I can't believe it.
You know what? When I said it to Andy too, I hate doing it.
Yeah,
but it doesn't mean I don't know how to. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like
exactly.
all I do is tie Palomar knots. That's if you know how to tie a Palomar knot, you know how to set up drop shot.
All
it's
you
easy.
need to do. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
So yeah, that was a rough day. I mean, if I'm drop shotting, that speaks
That
volumes.
tells you something about the conditions. For sure, it does.
So to follow up on last week's conversation where I thought you were heading in a direction with Andy. Mm-hmm. So Andy and I talked about it on the lake, and I got his quote unquote permission, but he kind of made a face at it. I was like, "Why are you asking me this?" So I had the story a little off, but I thought he was the originator of the term. He was not. So
we should give him credit though for the Urban Dictionary.
Oh yeah, well we're gonna. All right.
Yeah,
so apparently at some point Andy had heard numerous times over the course of however many years the term lake lice.
Yeah.
So with most fishermen, we laugh at it when the jet skiers and the water skiers come out and they're not exactly polite or showing any form of etiquette. They're lake lice.
Exactly.
Well, Andy took it upon himself one day, I guess after a cold beverage, to check to see if that term was on the Urban Dictionary. It is not, and he rectified that situation. So there you go, Andy.
Now
thank
it's
you.
perfect.
Yeah. Thank you for making the world right.
Absolutely.
On the
as
Urban Dictionary.
as it should be. Hang on. That's for you, Andy.
Well deserved.
Good job.
Well
buddy.
deserved. So moving forward, I sent you an article a couple days ago. Now we don't have any sort of ties with this.
Yeah, there's no affiliation. This is just something that we came across.
Yeah, I came across.
And it's good.
Yeah, it's really. Did you read it?
Yep.
Okay, good. So one of the things that I think it has a huge learning curve to it, especially up north, is how the water temperatures affect, in general, what the fish are doing, particularly with the turnover of the thermocline. So if anybody's listening, this is going to be a quick plug. Go to bassmaster.com. They actually have an article up on understanding water temperatures and how the lakes turn over and water bodies turn over. It's a fascinating read.
Yep.
It'll help you understand what is actually going on. And I don't know how many times I used the term thermocline in my fishing reports this year because of all the trout.
Oh, yeah.
But it'll help you understand what's going on.
Yep.
So I highly urge everybody, well, if you're on the throne, you got your smartphone, go ahead.
Definitely take a look.
Yeah, that's some throne reading material. There you go.
We'll throw it. We'll make a mention of it, I'm sure, in the blog, and we'll link it there. So if you're like, I don't know what the hell they're talking about, you can check the jigsandbigs.com blog, and it'll be listed in there.
So one thing that I always think about when I think about turnover is, where it really, I think it has like a negligible effect.
Where's that?
Shallow water bodies out on the Cape.
Oh, yeah.
So like in the trout ponds, the kettle ponds. So for anybody who's listening across the world or outside of, New England.
Yeah.
Here's some science. When the glaciers moved through, they ripped up big rocks. The rocks left holes. The holes filled in. They look like kettles. So if you ever heard the term kettle pond,
Yep.
they're like pockmarked all over the Cape because they're just big, deep, round holes. You go 10 feet offshore and you're in 30 feet of water.
Yep.
They just drop. So those are kettle ponds. The kettle ponds have a lot of trout in them. So that's where, Cape Cod, you would figure it's warmer. They're not going to have trout. No, the trout, there's a lot of places there that they'll actually, stay the year.
Yep.
So this is not what I'm talking about, but there's plenty of places out on the coast that are shallow, tops 4 feet deep. The turnover doesn't affect too much. I mean, you're going to find the fish, they may even be extremely shallow. They might just go to the northwest corner of the lake because that's the warmest water by a degree or two.
Yeah, there could just be some rocks over there that are holding a little bit of heat or something that's drawing them in that way, or maybe the sun.
No, the northwest corner of every pond is always the warmest.
Yep.
Because it gets the light for most of the day.
Longest.
Yeah, exactly. And in the northern hemisphere, yes, that's what we get. So there you go. If you're fishing cold water, folks, spring or late winter, the first place that's going to be warmest is your northwest corner. So always look at a map and check that out. I'm just full of information.
You are, man.
Good shit.
No, this is really good. This is really good.
All right. So next up, I finally got out with Tim. Did I tell you that?
No, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
I'm sorry. It was a quick trip out.
Yep.
So Tim Jacks was also participating on the competitor side in the Chronic Trips tournament. And I was planning on going, I can't remember, I think it was Friday. Friday? No, Friday was Cape Cod. Thursday.
Yep.
So Thursday, Wednesday night, Tim had sent me a text and said, "Hey man, I'm going out to the Oxbow. Do you want to join me?" And I had I knew I was going fishing, but I didn't have any plans.
No direction.
Oh, I had like 2 or 3 spots. I'm like, that was one of them that I was thinking about.
Oh, really? Oh, that's perfect.
So I said, yeah, I'll meet you out there. We'll go out there at like 8 o'clock in the morning. Well, Thursday was the first. Thursday and Friday were the two. Was it Thursday and Friday? Thursday was when the rain started. We got dumped on the whole time we were out there. For those of, again, for anybody outside of Western Mass, the Connecticut River's huge. It runs from, Connecticut, the ocean, dumps into the ocean of Connecticut, goes all the way up
into Canada,
all the way up through Connecticut, in the middle of Connecticut, goes all the way up through the western part of Massachusetts, and then it is the border between Vermont and New Hampshire. And doesn't it go to one of the bigger lakes? I think it terminates in one of the bigger lakes, not one of the Great Lakes, but like, I don't think it's Winnipesaukee or George.
I don't know.
Whatever.
Yeah,
no, George is in New York, right? Whatever.
Yeah,
so
I
I believe the Connecticut River starts way up north in one of the bigger lakes.
Yeah.
But, so the Connecticut River has, being such an old river, it's got oxbows to it. If you know what an oxbow is, it's where the river used to run, and then for some reason the river took the path of least resistance in another direction, and basically it just made a funky, almost like a weird shaped cove where it used to run, and now there's generally land in between. So there's a big oxbow in our part of western Massachusetts that it gets weedy, and it's full of northern pike and bowfin.
Oh yeah,
they love going in there.
It gets so weedy.
Yep, there's largemouth in there. There's because it's running to the ocean. Even up here, we get herring and alewives coming all the way up, and the babies are in there getting eaten all year by those predatory fish. So all the fish tend to have good growth rates.
Yep.
You go out in the main river, which is the ramp is right between the main river and the oxbow. The oxbow, and you've got large smallmouth bass. There's walleye there.
Yeah.
So you really have a banana and sturgeon too.
Yeah, you do. You have sturgeon in there as well.
So you really have just an absolute smorg of fish out
anything
there.
You could want, like anything a multi-species angler is going to want,
Yep.
is going to be there, and it's awesome. Yeah, it really is. It was one of those things. I think right before I started the podcast, I was just like, I need to develop a better relationship with the Connecticut River, because it's like there's so many tributaries off of it, but it's the biggest thing we have going around us. I mean, it's just huge.
And unfortunately, I mean,
in the valley. Anyway.
Yeah, in the valley, there's obviously being the one of the oldest parts of the country, and where the Industrial Revolution had a large foothold.
That's taken its toll.
There's still old mills from 200 years, lining the banks, and
some of them are just falling apart. You know?
And there's unfortunately a lot of pollution that comes with that. So like some parts are better than others. The fish don't seem to mind the pollution. They don't care if they're hiding behind a tree or a tire. But
exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, we love it. It's us.
And
warts and all, it's our river.
just recently I forget what it was that I was watching, but somebody was talking about how you'll have these, like, fish don't care. Like, they're the urban settings and the places where there's a lot of people that live, and you overlook all of these, spots that could be fished. And they do well, necessarily. I wouldn't eat anything out of there.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we can't. I mean, there's PCBs up the wall.
So
exactly. You can't do that. But I heard a story one time that the canals, when they periodically get drained to get, cars, shopping carts, bicycles, whatever gets thrown into those canals in Holyoke.
Yeah. So I've fished those canals.
So you know what I heard turned up in one of them, that they couldn't find any fish other than trout. Can you believe that? One section got drained between a couple of locks. And
no kidding.
Yeah, just all they found was trout in there. I was like, I was blown away.
So I'm going to share a little story.
Uh-oh.
So this isn't the. No, I guess it's not the lower canal, but it's in between the upper and the lower. It's that midsection there. Okay. There's a spot where it goes right alongside some of the mill buildings that are there, and there's a railroad bridge that goes right across.
Yes.
And right where this railroad bridge is, there used to be a fountain. Do you remember seeing this?
I don't remember the fountain. No.
So there was a fountain that came up in the middle of this canal. It's like twice a year that they go and clean them out. You get a lot of shopping carriages in there. It's just represent Holyoke. That's, this is where I live, so I feel a connection to it. But there was a fountain in that one spot that was just, the end of it would stick just out of the water, like a couple of inches, and it would just like spew water in it, which is all the fish were attracted to it because of all the oxygen.
Was it a decorative one? Or
It was decorative. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
it was
didn't know
just
if it was
decorative.
one for like a water agitator, like you would put in there to keep from, big algae blooms, stuff like that.
No. This was. I think it was just decorative because happened to be there's like a couple of small businesses, like a package store. Here's some New England shit for you. So there was a package store there.
Define package store for our non-New England listeners.
Exactly. Well, you guys might commonly refer to as a liquor store.
Yes, we got a packy. We get the packy.
We got a packy. So there's a packy and a garage that are right up against there, and this one section of green that's just open. It was a park bench they put there. They're trying to do more stuff with the canals. Anyway, this fountain, I guess, was a great addition. And then a friend of mine, Christine, what's up? I don't know if she listens, but a friend of mine was out fishing with her sons when they were quite a bit younger. This is a few years ago, and they're out doing their thing, having a great time. And they hear something like it sounds like machinery struggling, and all these guts come out of the fountain from fish that were drawn where the oxygen was, and we're going right into it.
Oh no! It was the Bassamatic.
It was the Bassamatic for real, dude. Yes.
And just on a side note, I know you sent me wishes. I only bring up the Bassamatic because a buddy of mine, Stefan, sent me the video of the Bassamatic.
Oh,
from
very
Saturday
nice.
Night Live
Yeah.
for my birthday, and said, "Here you go. That's what you
Nice.
need." And I said, "Okay." So, yeah, I'm old, by the way,
Yeah. Sean, welcome.
Yeah,
Welcome.
no.
Wait, am I older than you?
by 2 months.
By 2 months? Really? I was always the youngest in my class. Like my graduating class? No kidding.
We can go down a tangent with that because when we were going into elementary school, the rules were a lot different.
They were totally different.
Yeah, about what age you could go into a grade, and et cetera. And you see that you don't see,
Now it's a whole other ballgame.
you don't see babies in fall and December getting squeezed into a class
Yep.
like we did, and we basically both of us should have
waited a year later. Yeah,
exactly.
Definitely. Very, very strange.
But anyways, that's a tangent for another time. So back to Tim Jackson, the Oxbow. So we went out there. It was pouring. We went all the way into the Oxbow, and that's not usually where I go with my kayak because that's a hell of a paddle.
It's a huge battle.
Yep. So his bass boat was a different matter. We got to the northwest corner of it. I picked up 2 small bass on a jig.
Yep.
And then
He hit a decent smallmouth out there, didn't he?
not with me. No, we hit largemouth.
Oh, okay. That might have
And
been
then,
another day.
Yeah. And then as we rounded the corner, I was throwing a chatterbait into just absolutely, a mess of weeds, and I yanked it out and something smashed it. And the way it hit, I said to Tim, well, look, he was looking for a pike, and I said, "Here's your pike."
Yeah.
And I think I put it in the fishing report about what I said to him when I got on the boat, because I needed a 17.25-inch bass to win the kayak tournament online.com monthly tournament. I told Tim, I said, "I'm going to get a good fish today." And he said, "How do you know that?" I said, "Because I'm not in my kayak and it won't count."
Oh, that's right.
And
yeah.
he started laughing. He goes, "You think so?" I go, "I know so. Just watch." So what happened was I got smashed on the chatterbait pulling it out of the weeds. And I said to Tim, I said, "Here's your pike," because it honestly, it felt like one.
Yep.
And I got it to the boat, and it was just a big bass. It was 18 and a half.
Nice.
Which, it was the angriest I think I've been about catching an 18 and a half inch
Oh, I
bass.
believe it. Yeah.
So I was pissed off about that. And then we rounded the corner on the way back in, and Tim had, at that point, he had a major gear issue with one of his combos.
Okay.
He had one with some sort of braid that he really likes on there, and I think he had made mention that somebody else had been using it, and he didn't know what the condition of the line was. 3 custom swim baits were donated to the Oxbow.
Shit.
Just snapped on the cast. I'm like, "Did you just do that again?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm done with this rod." He put it away eventually.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the third time was the charm. So we rounded the corner, and he had, by that point, switched to a spinner bait and picked up 2 nice, one, I don't think it was somewhere between 10 and 14 inches. Tim, forgive me, I forget how big the smaller one was, but I know the second one was 18 inches. So
Nice.
he pulled that in, and he turned to me, he goes, "I told you I could fish." I go, "Tim, I'm not new to the game. Like, people have good days, people have bad days.
Oh, definitely.
Just because I picked up one fish on a chatterbait doesn't mean you suck at fishing. It's,
Yep.
what are you going to do?" So,
Yeah.
so there was my my Tim adventure. I also hit a small pond the next day, I think at around Western Mass, but I didn't do too well. But here's the main event, which
Give me the main event.
the main event, you know damn well what the main event is.
I know what the main event is, but I want you to share it with the people.
The people. Okay,
Yeah.
so before all this crap started, before all this weather that smashed us, last Monday, so 1 week ago today, I went out to one of the backwaters of the Connecticut River. There's all sorts of little ponds and offshoots all up and down the valley, from the Connecticut line all the way up to Vermont. If the Connecticut River's there, you've got a pond nearby or an old oxbow or something.
Yep.
There's always these little
Yep.
backwaters. I had mentioned it on the last show. Like, hey, I was planning on giving this place a try. And I went out there after we recorded, I believe. It was
Yep.
right after we recorded.
Yeah.
And I was out there for the afternoon or the morning or whatever it was. And
That's right.
the fish were fired up. So I
Yeah.
got out there, and I know I had mentioned that my lure for pickerel palooza of choice was the large inline spinner. So I kept it on, and I had it on, and I decided, well, it's kind of a funky day out. It was raining, it was cloudy, a little bit of wind, and I threw that out there just because I had it on. It was honestly just laziness. I was not ripping the water apart in my mind, and I got a bass, and then I got another bass, and then I got another bass, and they just wouldn't stop hitting it. So I'm like, okay, this is great.
It's a good time of year though for that presentation.
Nobody. I don't know anybody who uses those besides me.
I have a few of them. I don't throw
Big,
them
gigantic inline spinners with no
3/8 ounce inline spinners. That's what I usually throw.
Mine's either a half or 3/4. It's huge. It's
Really?
It's the biggest Vibrax they make.
Yeah,
It's like this big.
Yeah, mine's probably about like that big.
The blade on it actually looks like a tablespoon. Like it's huge.
Yeah, they get
So I was whipping that around, and honestly, I had success with those probably, I don't know, 10 to 15 years ago, and it's just one of those things that just got kind of replaced by.
It gets put in the back of your mind. You're just like, oh yeah, they're there. These work.
Well, I was catching so many. I kept them in my tackle boxes for years because I had great success with them, and then I think they just kind of got replaced by lipless crankbaits and chatterbaits, particularly chatterbaits because you could throw them so shallow, and let me think about what time it was. I mean, it was probably around noon, and I got that thing yanked.
Yeah.
And I'm saying almost the rod got yanked out of my hand. And the shore was on my right, and it went into a corner, and I was in that corner. It was about 8 feet deep going clean up to a weed bed, and then the weed bed going into, a foot of water. But I fired that over there, and that thing jerked sideways fast and took off so that the line that was in front of me in a matter of a second to a second and a half was now to my left and pulling me backwards. It just went over my shoulder.
So this thing is moving.
So I caught up with it, and that's my slow gear ratio reel. So I cranked that thing in, and when I set the hook just to make sure, and it wasn't a big hook set because you got treble hooks, you shouldn't go.
Oh yeah, you don't want to go.
It was a good sweep. Let me put it that way. And I looked at my clock I just happened to look down at the fish finder. I have a clock on my fish finder, and that thing towed me around that lake for almost 4 minutes. What's a big bass fight for? 15 to 30 seconds? This was 4 minutes. 4 minutes. I was holding on.
That's insane.
So I'm like, this has got to be a pike. It's got to be a big pickerel, or it's got to be a bowfin.
Yep.
And it came up to this was really, really, really dirty water. And when it came up, I saw one flash, and I said, my God, that's a big pickerel. And then I finally tired it out and got it in the net, and it was a northern.
Yeah,
and it was
a good northern.
It wasn't just a northern; it was the biggest northern I've ever caught.
Yep.
And I always thought that would come out of Minnesota,
which I think is hilarious because a week ago in that episode, you were just talking about your PBs, and that northern, and then you blew that right out of the water,
smashed it
that day.
So
that's crazy.
So I put the picture on the fishing report. If anybody's listening, it's on our webpage. Go ahead and look at last week's fishing report. I have a 32.5-inch catch board, and it was hanging over that. So I have it at 39.5, and I honestly think I shorted myself. I think without a doubt, it's 39.5. If you look at the picture, the catch board and the paddle, because I had to paddle into shore. I couldn't deal with that thing in my boat. I tried for a second. I'm like, I'm going to lose my hand.
Yeah. So it's not worth it, man.
I paddled that into shore, got it up on there. On the catch board, it was hanging off, and then I did my best to put the paddle next to it, but it did swipe it at least once. And when you look at the picture, the catch board's 32 inches of measurement, right? And then there's another half inch on it where there's a circle, like a hole punch through, so you can attach a leash to it with a small carabiner or whatever. And I use those S-beaners. And the end of the catch board at 32.5 is lined up directly with the 32-inch marker. And then when you look at the pike's tail, it's about 39.5. If you add that extra half inch, that's 40. But I safely called it both in the tournament and for my state pin, 39.5, because no matter what, it's 39.5.
Oh, exactly.
I don't.
And if anything, you played it safe, giving it 39.5. It's probably closer to 40.
I'm doing the judging on the
tournament,
on the chronic trips.
That's true.
Although
That's
for
true.
this one, what I did do was I called.
Well, you
up,
got a state pin too.
Yes,
That's
the
huge.
State pin was 36, but they're pretty lenient about.
Yeah.
They don't about the measurement standards. They don't care about open mouths, shut mouths.
Yep.
They're good with that.
They hand those things out to anybody.
So that's why I
I'm
do not.
kidding.
Well,
it's an accolade.
I don't want to look. Saying that and knowing that what an open mouth for a fish can do to a length.
Oh yeah.
When I look at that, especially like you can go on and see the leaders for catch and release, and you can see the lengths. And I have to. You can't see the pictures, so you don't know if the mouth's open or shut. But like some of the fish kind of lend the lengths. The lengths lend themselves to being open mouth. But
oh yeah,
that pike I didn't have my hands on. Everyone feel free to take a picture of my pike. I'm proud of myself.
dude. That's a good fish. And I remember when you sent me the picture, and you're like, "You got to see this. It's hanging off the catch board." I think when you sent me that picture, I was setting up trivia that night. No, I wasn't. I was at home.
It was Monday.
It was Monday. I was at home. So I remember looking at this thing, just going like, "You've got to be kidding me!" Only Sean the Fisherman says in that episode, and you guys might remember with the grand metal instrumental music playing during all of the all of the PBs during the report. I'm like, only this guy is going to say like, "Yeah, this is my PB, whatever for today," and then I'm going to break that sucker. So congrats, man. That's a great fish. That's a huge fish.
Thank you. Now I'm going to end with a funny story. Ready?
Yeah, let's do. Before we do, I want to throw this in here.
Shoot.
I think we need to plan at some point. Have you ever fished for muskie?
No.
I want to more than anything.
Go start with pike first.
Yeah. Sure. Absolutely. But I just want the experience. I think we should make that a series, like an episode where we'll, okay, so we're going to go out together and do this, and we're going to go and try this. Maybe go out with a guide, and I'd be all about that. Throw that in the show. I just want to throw that out there. I think that would be amazing. And yeah, you're right. Start with pike.
Yeah.
But
Start with big pickerel and then go to pike and then move up to muskie. I don't know. That's my path here. Try to catch a bowfin too. They're nuts. So
yeah.
So I talked a little bit about that storm that came through those 3 days. Mm-hmm. All right. So I know I talked to you while I was driving. So
yes,
I have. I'm not going to say the one. I'm not going to tell kind of say some of the circumstances that are going through my gear / personal life. All right.
Yep.
Because I don't want to, but that day it started. Was it Friday, Saturday? What day did I go down to the Cape?
It was Friday.
Friday I went down.
Yeah,
to
it was
the Cape.
Friday.
So Friday I went down to the Cape. Saturday, that's right. Saturday was Halloween, and that was that snow when we were getting some snow.
Yep.
So when I looked at the weather, again for anybody who's not in Massachusetts, I mean the Interstate 90, which is the Massachusetts Turnpike, runs from Boston to the New York border, almost cutting the state directly in half, horizontally.
Yep.
And then there's a couple, major highways that run north to south. So Interstate 91 runs right along the Connecticut River for us, and then out towards Worcester, you got 290 that runs up and down, and then 95. But probably the biggest one is 495. 495 runs literally from Cape Cod straight all the way up to the New Hampshire border.
Yep.
So when I looked at
and it's probably infamous, I would say. Just 495. When you mention 495, traffic and
I would think
everything.
95. 95 is the one that runs into Boston. That's the
95 is even 95. You could say anywhere in the country.
Yeah,
for sure. I mean, people know what a disaster 95 is. Yeah. But in Massachusetts, if you mention 495, people know you have a doozy of a story.
Yeah, well, especially the southern end during Cape Cod vacationing
season.
Yeah,
exactly.
That traffic will back up. Basically, 495 runs right onto the bridges of Cape, or runs right onto one of the bridges.
Yep.
Did I say that right?
Yeah, you did. You got it.
Good. And that 495 gets backed up in the summer. You know that. I know that. It sucks.
Yeah.
Actually, while we're talking about it, one time when I was a kid, the only time we ever did a family vacation to Martha's Vineyard, we got stuck in traffic it must have been 5 miles away from the bridge, and it was dead stopped. So this is like 1985 or 1986 because there was brush fires going on.
Oh, and wow.
Yeah, they stopped all the traffic, wouldn't let anybody go. I mean, it was just, the sky was black with smoke. It was nuts, and beautiful day, just burning.
Yeah.
So I went down there, and the weather had said that the storm was going to kind of stick around, 90. When I looked at it at night on Thursday, I'm like, okay, good. So once I get to 495, it should be clear
good.
sailing. Yeah, that was a lie. Yeah. So I got almost all the way to Cape Cod before it turned to rain. I mean, it was almost to the bridge.
Oh,
so
wow.
it was snow.
So it was snow all the way out.
So,
wow.
Yeah. So two things happened where I, questioned existence.
Yeah.
Really saw my life flash before my eyes. I decided to get in the fast lane on 90, and it had not been like overly plowed, but you could tell cars were using it. So you saw the two tire tracks.
Yeah.
So I got in that. There was a slight curve, and I lost control of the truck for about, 100 feet. Thankfully, it was a straightaway, and I just kept going straight.
Yep.
But I did not have control of the vehicle.
Yeah,
so
you were like, Jesus, take the wheel.
yes. Yeah. And he did. So I slid into the middle lane and said, okay, I'm not doing that again.
Yeah.
And I stayed in the middle lane. So once I got onto 495, I stayed in the middle lane. And about halfway down, I'd like to thank the driver of an F2 or 350, I don't know, who was dragging what appeared to be either a heavy equipment trailer or a horse trailer. I could not tell because they went by me doing about 85 miles an hour.
Really?
Completely covered my windshield with slush. I couldn't see. And then all the slush they laid down in front of me, I lost control again.
Oh, my God.
And I went into the other lane. Thankfully, there were no cars. I got back out of it, and I was, at that point, even with the freezing cold, I did lower my window and give him the universal signal for I'm happy with you.
Exactly.
Your performance has been spectacular.
Great job.
Yes, great job. You're number one.
You're number one.
Well, you're number one.
You're number one, sir.
Yes. So that was fun. So I got to Cape Cod. I went to lake number 1 on my list. Skunked.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Skunked. Got blown around quite a bit. Sucked. There was 20 mile an hour winds with 30 to 40
windy.
gusts. Yeah, it was good time.
It was gusting over 30 easily.
So I brought 3 or 4 changes of clothes and went through them all, and brought my wetsuit just to make sure. I did wear my wetsuit actually the next day when I went out with Andy because it was that cold. The post-frontal conditions. But lake number 1, nothing. Not even a bite. Lake number 2, small pond. I had stopped in it before, and I had like a nibbler fest, and I just it was in my mind, and it was in between destination number 3, and I said, well, I'm going to stop here.
Better to stop than go all that way
yes.
and potentially lose out.
If it wasn't in between, I wouldn't have stopped.
Yeah.
So I jumped out of there and got, I didn't catch them. I did not land them, but I had 2 nibblers to the boat, and I was like, okay, well, that's good, and keep that in the back pocket another day. And then finally, I got to one of my favorite little hidey holes on Cape Cod, and I did catch. I got like 4 largemouth, I think a pickerel, and I did get a yellow perch that was an upgrade, and it was a monster.
Really, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'll actually talk about that when the crew gets here. And we go into the Chronic Trips tournament, but yeah. So then I drove home, and it was miserable, and it didn't stop me from getting up and going fishing the other day, the day after. So what I've done is I'm not burnt out on fishing, but wearing a wetsuit just for 3 hours in my kayak,
enough to turn you off.
No, it's not even enough to turn me off. It's the physical stuff. We talked about the way it pulls on my. It just wreaks havoc on my body. So I'm actually taking a little break. I think this week I'm not going to fish. I might fish Saturday. There's a chance. I'm waiting to see if an impromptu tournament is going to break out there. All right. So yeah, if a tournament breaks out on Saturday, I'm sure I'll fish then, but I'm giving my body a rest this week because I pushed it hard last week and I'm not fucking 18 anymore.
Well, there's a couple of things going on when you fish in those kind of conditions. When you go out and you have to deal with the cold, like that is just it's almost like additional resistance. It's something else you need to overcome. And like when you're bouncing from spot to spot and you gotta, you're planning for everything. It's just a lot. And like you said, when you're wearing a wetsuit, and it's funny because I've seen some articles and discussions pop up in Facebook groups about cold weather gear and different recommendations. And there seems to really be 2 camps: bibs and wetsuits. That's really kind of like what it gets down to. And it's more about like what your needs are. And what you can afford, getting into it, because some of the bibs that they have are insanity.
It's the dry suits. The dry suits are the really expensive ones.
Yeah,
We talked about that when we put out that call to arms for everyone to throw us information. Excuse me. But right now I'm of the mindset that I think I'll be saving my pennies over the winter for next year and try to get. I didn't realize that they make broken down wetsuits where you can buy pants and tops.
Oh, it's separate pieces. Oh yeah,
because half of the reason is I wear that Farmer John style where it's basically like a sleeveless, like a tank top on top,
exactly.
and then it goes right into the legs.
But the problem is you're fighting your back the whole time. Like
with the Farmer Johns?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's killing
pulling
me.
down. Yeah,
and
yeah,
I
yeah.
have back and shoulder issues, so it doesn't help, so that's why I'm laid out for a week.
Yeah.
Even before we started this podcast, when I went over in the living room, did you see what I did?
No.
every night I have one of those foam rollers you can buy at Walmart for like $15.
Oh, okay.
I roll it. I roll my back out.
Yeah.
It sounds like someone's cracking their knuckles every night.
I believe it.
It's awful. So,
I believe it.
So I'm a little beat up. I'm going to take this week and kind of chill out.
No, that's smart.
It's good stuff. But this was an exciting week, and I decided I wanted to make you aware of this. As you know, I like anything to do with fishing art. I saw you looking over my shoulder here. I have a couple of the 3-dimensional wood laser cutouts of both the lake I live on and the lake in Minnesota.
Yep.
And when it comes to, if you ever, not even if, when you get that 20-inch fish finally, right?
Yep.
If you don't want to have a replica made that runs you, $300 to $400.
Yep.
I'm considering right now, there's a company that actually does a very nice print of your fish and your length. So if like right now, I looked at it for a 39.5-inch pike. Now, they're not going to take my picture of my pike. It's a stock picture of a northern pike, but they make it to your length. And then at the bottom, they put a little statistical, almost like a sticker or label.
Oh, okay.
That says, angler, where it was caught, length, weight, if you have it. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So that's kind of neat. So I was considering doing that years ago because of that shark trip that we went on that we talked about.
Yep.
That would be cool. So I'm thinking about doing that for the pike.
I would. Absolutely.
And when I brought it up to my wife, she just kind of smiled and said, maybe you should ask Santa for that. And I said, maybe I will. So I think that I like stuff I like, pictures like that hanging up. That's cool. And
I think that's the goal. Like for anybody is to have like these memories. You'll hear, as a matter of fact, you'll hear in the interview that I have with Saul from Solifornia. He and I were discussing how like fishing has changed, through generations. And one of the points that comes up, he made a point. He's like, look at, when you have somebody can go out, and fish now, everybody has a camera on them now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anglers, it was a popular thing for fishermen to have like a disposable camera or something on them so they could snap a picture. But think about back to life, like 35 millimeter film. You would snap a picture and you would have 24, 36 other pictures that you needed to fill before you could make it worth it to go drop it off and get those developed. Now you get the instant gratification. It's like, if you can take that around and make it a piece that you can show off these catches, and you can do so with somebody that's skilled enough as an artist to make it like really a piece of artwork, not just, capturing it in time, but just really make it something to look at. Why wouldn't you? Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a nice print system, and I'll be looking into them for that. But, with the cameras, just like you're saying, the other thing is too, let's say you go out and you have your Kodak instant camera. I know by the late 90s they were still kicking around.
Oh, yeah.
You have that. You take those pictures. What if it's at night? What if the picture doesn't come out?
That's exactly it. There could be a real, a terrible surprise waiting for you when you get those processed. Yeah, that's true. I mean, now you get the instant gratification. You're like, boom. And sure, you can, text them to whomever. And I get texts I get texts and DMs from people that either listen to the show, folks that I've fished with. I will get a text almost every time Tim goes out to fish.
Yeah.
That's why I asked if that Smalley was one of them, because
he started that with me too, which it's awesome. I love getting texts.
I love it.
Holy shit.
It's like my favorite thing. I'm like, this is amazing. Cool. Even if I'm just unable to fish for when I had COVID, and I would get messages from people like, hey, look what I caught. My buddy Paul, I think he used to get pissed because I would, I would fish 4 days a week and I'm my own boss. He's got a not regular 9 to 5 and actual responsibilities and things like that. He would be at work and he'd get 4 or 5 pictures of what I caught in that day. And I would, he'd be like, thanks, man, you're really rubbing it in. But I think at the end of the day, it's cool to get that, and you're sort of involved, kind of.
Yeah, and I sent that. I try not to send too many fish pictures to I have a group text with some of my buddies, particularly the camping crew, and I sent that to them with the pike, and there was a little bit of silence, and then Stefan with the zinger. Asking me if I cut that thing open, will the Kittner boy spill out of it? Nice Jaws reference, Stefan.
Nice.
Excellent. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, so that was a good one. But I know I'm with you. It's not really the instant gratification, but it's, if you're sending it digitally, that thing is now immortalized.
Yep.
So it's good stuff.
It's pretty cool.
But that was my week. How was your week?
I'll tell you what. So one thing you might notice is that the beard is coming back.
Yes.
Now, I'm not a big fanatic about how there's sports fans that'll be like, I have to wear this jersey, I have to sit in that chair, they feel like they have some kind of mojo.
Yes.
And they have this tradition or what have you that they need to have in place in order to have success in that game, somehow that's getting there. I'm just saying that since I have stopped shaving, I have caught significantly more fish.
Yes.
Yeah. Whatever that might be. So the beard is coming back. What was it, last week? I caught a couple. I've been fishing here and there before I go and do trivia, usually trying to get a night bite. This last weekend, it was so cold. I was hoping to make it out with Paul. He wasn't up to it. I went out and fished a couple of spots a little later in the morning after it had warmed up. And my whole goal was I started out fishing out this one spot at a local river. Mm-hmm. And I had went there and I was just throwing a chatterbait. I was like, I think this will probably do all right here. Caught a relatively small pickerel with that. Tried to downsize a little bit. Decided I was going to cut my losses and just leave it alone. It was really the only one bite I had was just this one, and one fish is a fish. It's not a pattern. So I decided
Do I get some kickback for that? Because that's my
yeah.
I like that. Everyone remember that. That's Sean the Fisherman coming out with
I'm learning.
Yeah.
So and then I want to reference this also when I get to the end of it. So I left there and I went to one of I would consider this to be my happy place. It's not a fantastic fishery at all. It's easy to fish. It's highly pressured, but I have pulled out some significant fish out of this. So I go in there and I'm throwing the same chatterbait and I throw a little bit of top water and nothing's really going on. And I decide I'm going to size down a little bit. And I started throwing a drop shot with a brand new drop shot bait that I have never used before. It's called a finesse slammer from X Zone Lures. And it's kind of the thing that I think is funny about X Zone is that I feel like their plastic is a unique blend. It's not as buoyant as Z-Man's what do you call that?
Elastec.
Elastec, yes. Now, while I do love the Elastec for that point because it's so buoyant, this feels like it's somewhere in the middle. I don't know. Maybe it's just my perception. Maybe it's just this one bait, but it floats and sits exactly where you want it. I left about 8 inches of line in between my weight and my hook for my drop shot. Now, I usually don't go much longer than that because I fish a lot of the drop shot. A lot of times I'll fish a drop shot like that in shallow water. So I don't exceed anything crazy. So I'm fishing this, and as it's getting closer to the bank, I can see it. It looks amazing. And I just lit them up on this thing. I could not believe it. I caught another 3 or 4. I caught another pickerel while I was there. I caught a couple of little bass, and I was just like, this is freaking phenomenal. Fantastic.
Nice.
Sun went behind some clouds. It got really cold real fast. I called it a day. The next day I had gone out with my kids. Didn't catch anything there. But now, you'll notice that there's pictures going up on the Instagram. I'm catching some fish. So we're getting there little by little. And, it is what it is. Now, I do want to say this. So this week, I also looked back at the last year. I'm not done fishing for the year. I'll fish all the way through November. Mm-hmm. I still have a couple of spots that I need to schedule to fish with people. I got to get out and I got to fish with Ellie. I got to get out and fish another couple of times with Delirious. I got to get out and there's a whole bunch of people that I've got a list to fish for. Primarily, this is all bank stuff at this point.
Yep.
So I have to do all that. So the year's barely done. But I went and I looked at at FishBrain. And I looked at my, much like you have your database of all this information, I've got I use FishBrain to primarily just kind of track my progress. And I went back and I looked at some of the stats that I had for last year and then the year before. And last year, I thought I was killing it. I really did. Like you'll remember, like I didn't fish until May, and then I caught one. And it was an absolute beast. Totally inspired me to get back into this. In June, I only caught one fish. In July, I caught 4. Same with August. In September,
Are you talking bass or fish?
Fish.
Oh, okay.
Fish. Yeah.
That's a little rough. That last year or this year?
This is 2019.
The good times. The end of the era.
Yeah, exactly. Think about this. I don't know if it is what this has to. And actually, you make a good point there. So I peaked in October, catching primarily largemouth with 6 in October of last year. And I remember thinking that I was killing it. Like I truly did. I was like, holy crap. But this was also at a point where I was finally really starting to understand and wrap my head around the techniques I was using and the baits and also having a little bit more of a plan. Fast forward to this year. And my record for a month right now was in August, and it's 30. My lowest numbers were in April and in September at 6. That was my record before.
So you know what I did? Just
Yep. Well, I want to throw this out there.
Yeah, go ahead. Finish.
I say April and September. April is when I had COVID and was not going out to fish.
Yep.
Because I was quarantined for 2 weeks. So that was cut completely in half that month. September, I shaved my beard. Mid-September.
Sounds like a problem.
Sounds like a pattern.
And you had that soul patch.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. And then here we are in October, and I'm back up to 10 fish already.
My recommendation straight up, no soul patch. Keep
No
the beard.
soul patch.
Yeah, you just
Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm growing the beard back. I'm not going to do the caveman-y thing like I had before.
Yep.
But I that's kind of where I feel like it's there. But this blows my mind.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, that's really, really huge. And, I'm not super religious about putting every single catch in. There are some times where I'm like, yep, I didn't,
Got to, man.
I go out. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You definitely have to. But, and my point is like, make whatever effort you're comfortable with and you will see results,
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd like to completely agree with you. I somewhat agree with you, but if you really want to get better, you've got to record everything. I'm an absolute stickler on that.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think that the effort and the outcome are equal. Like there's a relationship there. But if you're at least putting some actual effort into what you're doing, you will see results. I mean, is in as general a way as you can word it. I think that's the best way to go about it. So that's how my week has been. I've been feeling pretty good. I'm pretty psyched about all this.
Cool. And what just to follow up on that, the one thing that I do, and I was doing it by month. I was really using that month as a filter. And what I decided to stop doing was really worrying about month, because fish don't worry about months.
They don't.
They worry about water temperature.
Yep.
So when I started tracking water temperature and then just kind of baselining it at spring, fall, or summer or winter, that got a lot easier to track and to apply that data instead of looking, well, it's October. What am I catching in October? What have I caught? Where did I go last October?
Yeah.
Where did I go to the October
now
before?
You're like, what am I catching when it's 56 degrees?
Yes. There's too many variables involved in difference between month. Like since we moved here, the first year we were here, which was 2015, I believe we had an extremely mild late fall, to the point where Christmas morning, I think my youngest son and I were out on the lake catching yellow perch. I think I have pictures of that. We got up, opened the presents, did that, went out on the lake. We were fishing in the kayaks on Christmas Day.
That's crazy.
And then the next year,
I think I remember that 2015. Yeah, it was super mild.
And then the next year was the exact opposite.
Yep.
On Christmas, I actually told relatives, the ones with kids and were ice skaters, I'm like, bring your ice skates, because we actually I was ice fishing for a week prior to Christmas.
Yeah.
And then
That's
everyone
so
brought
early too.
and everyone brought their ice skates, and for Christmas. So after we had dinner or whatever, we went out on the lake.
Yeah.
I set up a couple tip ups and everyone else was skating.
That's awesome.
So yeah, so I go by temperature on that.
Yeah, I think you have to, because you have to look at like big picture and then localize it.
Yeah.
Because and I'll even throw this out there too. It's just something to keep in mind. Like that Bassmasters article, that the one that talks about the turnover and the what's happening in the water at different times of the year. What triggers that is temperature, not calendar.
Correct.
You know, so, and this is why you could very easily have one body of water where the turnover will happen at a totally separate time than another body of water, because there's area, there's depth, there's what's in there. You get a body of water that's holding a lot of rocks, you're going to hold a little bit more heat than maybe, and within a degree or two, like those changes, they're not going to happen exactly at the same time.
What I found over, with traveling all over the state, and I'm just going to relate this to Massachusetts because we have the coastal environment on the East Coast, on the eastern side of the state. We have, the hills of Worcester, so the elevation goes up a little bit, but then it goes down again into the valley where we live, and then it goes way up into the Berkshire Mountains.
Yeah.
So we literally have 1, 2, 3, 4 different areas and all their transition points, right? I've noticed I have certain bodies of water that I know are the last to freeze and usually the first to thaw.
Yeah.
And they're the shallow, weedier areas because they hold. I got into a conversation with Phil about this. We never really finished it, but if he's listening to this podcast, this is where I'll describe what I was talking about. So a larger body of water, once it takes longer to freeze, but once it freezes, it takes longer to thaw.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Right? So a shallow body of water heats up a lot quicker.
Yep.
So it takes longer to freeze for the year. So if you've got a 3 or 4 foot body of water, even in the valley,
all
right, you might get skim ice, but that skim ice will never form fully for a while because it won't form into walkable ice because it's got that heat that it's holding in the weeds or in the dark bottom, and it just never gets to that point. And then you get a really bad cold snap and it'll freeze, and then the first thing to thaw in the spring is a shallow body of water. Yeah, I mean, up in the Berkshires, good luck because it's just you're in the mountains.
Yeah.
The foothills of Worcester, the hills up in Worcester, you're going to have varying things going on there. The coast, because it's always warmer.
Yeah.
You go out to some points halfway outside, halfway through Cape Cod, and they just don't freeze. Plus, the salt in the air has got to.
And that's the other element of it too. The salt in the air is definitely going to play a role.
Yep. So, I only have one last thing, I think.
Jump
unless
on.
you have something else.
No, go for it.
This is going to go off on an absolutely unrelated fishing tangent.
Okay.
I broke my trivia cherry last week.
Yes, you did.
I did.
Yes, absolutely right.
And just like any good cherry breaking, it was a cluster. I messed up so bad on I finished 4th that night. I was very
pretty good.
Proud of myself.
Yeah.
Right. And the easiest softball of a question. 2 of them, actually. I didn't tell you I jacked up on another one, but somebody else jacked. The easiest one that I jacked up on. This is just tragic.
Yep.
So getting back to the nerd talk, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to go on a tirade about it. Star Wars, since the original 3, since the 80s, has been up and down. I think we can all agree on that.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
been some great ones.
And
Rogue,
there's been some letdowns.
There's been some horrible letdowns, right? One of my favorites since, in the new era, shall we say anything after, 90, when did the prequels come out? 99?
Prequels were, 90, 99.
99, because I remember seeing one in Mississippi when I was there. All right, so 99. So since 99, I think my favorite of the bunch has been Rogue One.
Okay.
All right. It's a coherent story. There wasn't a lot of times during the movie I sat there and went, oh, come on. Like, I suspended my disbelief through the whole movie.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
There was one point where just having been military and kind of knowing what would happen in a military situation.
Yeah.
Where when they commandeer the spacecraft and they're like, hey, who is this? What are you doing on the spacecraft? And they're like, hey, it's Rogue One. And they're like, oh, okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
That was the only time in the whole movie that I said, oh, what the hell is that, right? I love that movie. I mean, obviously they tried some experimental stuff with the face technology, which was unsettling with Leia and Grand Moff Tarkin or whatever his name was. That was fine. I think the 2 best things in that whole movie was the end where you saw Vader go nuts.
Oh, yeah.
And
that was so good.
No one thinks about this, but this is why I always hold Rogue One up Honestly, I think it's probably the second best movie next to Empire out of every Star Wars movie.
That's a huge statement.
Yeah, I really love Rogue One that much.
Wow.
So the reason I love it is in this day and age of cinematic blockbuster sequels and huge trilogies, or the MCU with 22 movies plus now. You know, they did a prequel story and they killed everybody. Can you imagine what Disney's marketing said when they said, we've got a story, but we're killing every Star Wars character in it? Their marketing division must have shit their pants.
Yeah.
They killed everybody. Obviously, they didn't kill the people that were going on into the initial 3 movies, but everybody that got introduced in Rogue One, the droid, the girl, Captain, what is his name? They're all dead. All the bad guys that got introduced, they're all dead. They had a one-shot movie that was owned by Disney, which specializes in marketing, and they killed everybody dead in it. That is phenomenal.
They must have that says something about everybody involved with the production of that film and the writers. It says something that they had a lot of faith from Disney in order to not, because you would think they'd totally red light that. They'd be like, no, that's these characters are marketable. We can make sequels. Like, what are
we can
you
make
doing?
Prequels,
There's a lot that you're missing out on. But I think that says a lot.
They killed everybody.
And I'll bet you some of that had to do with the fact that it was the Star Wars brand. And they're like, dude, you got to do. You know better. You've already done this.
I don't think so, because that was after Disney bought them. I don't know enough about the
Was Rogue One the first one after Disney bought them?
No, it went episode... The reboot, the one with Force Awakens?
Force Awakens,
because remember their schedule was new Star Wars movie, then a prequel, new Star Wars movie, prequel. So getting back to the trivia, with Rogue One being my second favorite Star Wars movie, there was a Rogue One question, and it was one of those order the title questions.
The sequence ones, yep.
And it was a sequence one, and I completely I just might as well have mashed my phone, because I think it came out as... The original title is Rogue One, a Star Wars story.
Yep.
I put in like Star Wars, a Rogue One story, or so. I jacked it up so bad. That would have put me directly into third place.
Yep.
So
it definitely would have.
The other one was that was kind of trickier, and I think I can forgive myself a little more on this. I listen to the Grateful Dead quite a bit. Mm-hmm. There was, because you had the Halloween music.
The Halloween
theme.
Music, yeah.
Yeah, and I hit 2 questions that I don't know anybody would have otherwise. That Flaming Lips one, that was a tough one.
Flaming Lips one was in there, yeah.
I got that Flaming Lips question, but there was
and that gave you a fast track to first place.
Yes, it did.
That was a key element in this game.
Yes, and then there was a question that had a snippet of sound.
Yep.
And someone had to answer it, and then everyone else in the group had to agree or disagree. And when it played, I thought, it being a Halloween theme, it sounded just like Grateful Dead's Touch of Grey, like a chord from that. And I said, well, is that Touch of Grey? And someone answered, boom, immediately, Grateful Dead. And I'm like, well, shit, you're on the clock. I just agreed with them.
Yeah.
There's no penalty for agreeing.
Oh, of course.
No, it wasn't. It was, what the hell was it?
It was Vampire Weekend.
That's what it was. But it was just, it sounded so much like Touch of Grey. I'm like...
You know what's funny? Almost every game that week, that one got people.
For Grateful Dead?
Yep. Almost. There was one game that we had where a team had buzzed in. And I think it might have been the team that buzzed in. I'm not sure. They're not going to listen to this fishing podcast, so they won't know. But this one team, Tally Hose, the 2 girls, they buzzed in. They're really, really into a lot of different styles of music. But one of them specifically is a massive fan of pretty much most jam bands. Really, really into Grateful Dead, really, really into Fish, really into a bunch of other stuff. And I think it might have been them that buzzed in and said Grateful Dead, because the whole point of the round was that these were Halloween-y songs, and there was wordplay in either the band or in the song title. And it was all about... So Grateful Dead actually would have fit the bill. Yeah. Because it had Dead in there. It definitely makes sense. And a lot of people would agree. We had a couple of fast tracks that week. That's crazy, man. Yeah,
those are the 2 I got wrong. But the Star Wars Rogue One, there's no excuse. I looked at my screen and I'm like, I can't fix this. I've done a bad thing.
We've gone too far.
Meanwhile, my youngest son and my wife are with us. My oldest had homework, so he decided to stay at home. And what are my youngest names? Fart Face McGee. What was
Fart Face McGee.
Yep. Oh,
Chronic
Trips
are
is here. Yeah, so Fart Face McGee, which every time you said it, at my table was,
Exactly.
I'm going to go get the door. I'll be right back.
Get
That's all I have to say.
I'm going to wrap this up and throw to the next spot.
Okay. All right.
All right, guys. We're going to go ahead and transition over to this next session here, which is what we're setting up for now, which is our recap with Can Athletes, Brock, Mark, Sean the Fisherman, and Seth from Chronic Trips. We'll catch you guys in a bit. All right, everybody. We're back. We've just kind of transitioned from the intro to this little segment here, which is the recap of the month-long tournament that's been going on with Chronic Trips. Chronic Trips Elevated Fishing Tournament, online, catch photo release style, but multi-species and a ton of fun. We've got a few guests here. We've got Seth from Chronic Trips. We've got two Can Athletes. Well, we also have Sean the Fisherman, who is a Can Athlete, but we've also got Mark Huard and Brock Jenkins with us. Guys, welcome.
Hello.
Thanks for having us.
Welcome. All right. So I'm going to leave most of this over to the man with the notes. Kind of let him kind of just run with it and see how this all kind of goes. He's got all the information, but before we get started, does anybody want to kind of, mention anything that they thought was exciting or stuck out to them this month as opposed to previous months?
Well, yeah. I mean, I just wanted to say, as the one of the heads of Chronic Trips, we just want to thank everybody for participating and all of our sponsors for being the amazing people that they are and keeping this tournament going and making it super fun. And the Can Athletes here, Sean, Brock, and Mark, that really make things motivated and keep things going and evolving the whole tournament. So, just want to preface that with a whole jolly good thank you and air hugs for everybody, and Jigs and Bigs, Bobby.
Oh, yeah.
For always making sure that everyone's fully informed of the Chronic Trips tournament.
Well, when it comes to all the information, it's this man right here, Sean the Fisherman. He is the record keeper and the knower of all the things that happen. So excellent job, Sean, this month, as you've put on display in previous months. Nice job.
Well, that round of applause was obviously appreciated, but it's going to hold. There's going to be another round of applause coming, maybe more than one. But
I have a feeling we'll have a few.
Yeah, there's going to be some
sound effects in general.
So, thanks, Seth, again for running this. Thanks for letting me play such a part in this. This is like stuff I like doing. I like seeing, I like seeing all the fish come in. I like being able to document it. I think I have an Excel problem where I set on Microsoft Excel and just, ignore my homework to keep track of fish, but it's tickling me pink, so it's good stuff.
I love the screenshots.
Oh yeah, and as far as Brock and Mark, honestly, so this is the third month now, and we're going to get into results later, but this is the third month where there's been a different champion, so that's a preview for everybody listening. But I think this month I had so much fun with you guys, like gently talking shit. It wasn't bad. We didn't like take it overboard. Yeah. But there were some comments made on instant messaging that had me laughing, and I'm sure had you guys laughing too, because I was having a blast with it. So thank you guys, and this was definitely fun.
Couple of middle finger emojis.
There was a lot of middle finger emojis
with a laughing emoji after it.
Yeah, I had some fun with this one. So looking forward to the next one on that. Whether it's actually, next one in December, and we're looking forward to that. So I'm just going to jump right into it. So I have all my notes. I'm going to go through all of the awards that have either been given out or are yet to be given out. And I'm going to try. I actually organized this so that it kind of has a crescendo. It builds. You like that?
Oh,
crescendo.
I like that.
Nice. Points for that. Ooh,
That's like a good crescendo.
yeah. There we go. So first off, first thing I want to hit. We have the awards for the biggest fish of the tournament. Okay, so we're going to start with the weekly longest fish. I was looking at the wrong note. Okay, so weekly longest fish. We'll start in the competitor division. Week one, Teddy Forget had an 18.5-inch chain pickerel. So I'm pretty sure that already went out, right? I think weeks 1 through 3, all the prizes were already given out, correct?
1 through, yes.
Okay, so this week
We're on their way.
Yep, cool. So competitors, week 1 was Teddy with an 18.5-inch chain pickerel. Week 2 was Aaron with a massive 33 3/4 inch flatfish. Did we decide if that was a halibut or not? I think it was, right?
Yeah,
because he's on the West Coast. I got halibut out there. We're calling your fish a halibut, Aaron. It's all good. And then just to hammer that point in, the next week he caught a 29, which was the longest fish for that week. And then week 4, the final week, which had an extra couple days to it because 31 in October, Tim Jack stepped up to the plate with a 20 1/4 inch chain pickerel. Good job to Tim. There's your cue. There we go. All right, over in the Can Athlete Sponsor Division, well, this makes it really easy. So Brock had the first 3 weeks. So Brock
crushing it this time.
Yeah, you killed it on the salt, Brock. You had a 30-inch shark the first week, a 20-inch haddock the second week, a 28-inch pollock, which I needed Nelson's help identifying. And then I got the 4th week with that monster pike we talked about. So,
Yep.
yeah.
Torpedo.
So there we go. There's the weekly longest fish for all 4 weeks, both divisions. Good job, everyone. Thank you. The submissions were awesome. Second thing I want to go into. First people to hit 100 and 200 inch markers, which I think although that was actually the first and second week those went out. And for the 3rd tournament in a row, we have not had a 300 inch marker.
Really?
Yeah. No. Yeah, you were close, right? You had 280, something like that, bro?
Yeah, if I could have got that pike, I could have tipped it.
If I could have got that bluegill, man. But, yeah, so Nelson DaCosta hit 100 and 200 in the competitor division. Do you need more coffee? Applause, man.
I might.
And then over in the Can Athlete Sponsors, Mark hit 100 first, and then Brock was the first to 200. And I put a note on there with the back and forth that went on between me and you, Brock.
Right.
You hit 200 as I was entering a 15-inch largemouth or a 16-inch largemouth to hit 200. I'm like, son of a bitch, he got me again. So that was the story of this tournament for me. Just Brock.
Didn't that happen at 100 inches with me too? You were close, right at.
I think so. I think you you had a trout day. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think I got a message from you like, if it wasn't for effing Mark.
You came over that day, Seth, and you told me that.
Yeah. So yeah, that was the story of this tournament for me, but it was worth it. Again, this friendly shit talking was probably the highlight of the tournament. It was good stuff. Well, no, the pike was, but the friendly shit talking was a close second. Up next, so this is covering a little bit of ground we already did, but longest freshwater fish in the tournament. Well, that I think already went out. I think Nelson caught in the first or second week was a 27-inch northern. Good job to him. And then nice. Aaron's 33 3/4 inch halibut flatfish was the saltwater entry. And then for the Can Athletes and Sponsors, myself with that pike was a freshwater, and then Brock's 30-inch shark was the saltwater. So there's the longest 4 fish of the tournament. Good job, everyone. Look at that. I'm crossing it out, right? All right, up next. So here's the standings. Here's how everything shook out. With the competitors, there was a late change in 3rd place, which I don't know if you guys were tracking it like I was. I mean, I think next one I'm definitely going to do a better job of having some sort of real-time tracker up, whether it's a website or something. But as far as the competitors, when we talked about the standings last week, there was Nelson hammered it home. I mean, he was over 30 points at that point, and then I believe Teddy Forget was in the 20s.
Yeah.
And then there was, I think, 4 people at either 12 or 11. It was Tim Jacks.
All within just like a point or two of each other?
It was really close. It was a dog fight for 3rd. It was Tim Jacks, Aaron Coleman, Eric Graves, and Nate Shagnon.
Yep.
Well, what happened was Nate had a fire lit under his ass. That guy fished hard.
You mentioned that.
Yeah.
You mentioned that.
He was sending me daily texts. I got this. I got that. And he put a hurting on the board and actually took a few points away from Teddy. Nate finished 3rd at 17 points. Teddy finished 2nd at 18. That's how close that came.
Holy shit.
And also I need to note that Tim Jacks made a run too. I think he finished with 14. I didn't put the 4th place down. I just put top 3. But Tim also made a run at it. He had a big smallmouth day and he had a big day with pickerel.
So Nelson really crushed it. And
Nelson finished with 31.
Everything beyond there was just so, nice job, Nelson. Excellent.
And also a nice job for Nate and Tim for making it exciting at the end. That was nice.
Absolutely.
All right, so over in the Can Athlete Sponsors, Mark, you finished 20. I know you had some trout issues. it happens.
Oh man, it was a rough season.
Yeah.
It was a rough month. I think I fished like 4 times all month.
Yeah, and I made mention last week, we talked about this before going on air, that I was aware that you had some gear issues. We'll still leave it at that. And you weren't able to do what you normally do.
Well,
and
look what he did with 4 days.
I know.
That's scary.
20 points. You finished with third. That's awesome.
That's awesome.
And then I finished in second with 30, behind Brock with 32. So the story behind this.
Nice
one-
job,
so
Brock.
Absolute great job, Brock. You hit.
Thank you.
You epitomized what this tournament is with going out and getting fish all over the place with fresh and salt water, and that's what you have to do to get in this tournament.
That donkey was singing.
Yeah, the donkey was. So the joke is, I mean, you just showed me that picture of the 8-inch bluegill. I could not land a big bluegill. We talked about it in the intro.
Yeah,
couldn't
absolutely.
do it. I couldn't do it, and
Even going out of your comfort zone,
Yeah.
like,
couldn't do it.
damn.
Couldn't do it, and Brock did, and congrats, dude.
Yeah, nice job.
So that's 3 tournaments where either Mark, Brock, or I have won. The next one is the rubber match.
Yeah.
I mean, December's going to be ugly too.
Yeah.
It's ugly
I hope we
fishing.
get ice.
Yeah, it'll be better with ice. But yeah, that's a nasty bit of business we have coming up in December. So we'll see, who the Christmas champion is. So the only other thing
Christmas champion.
the only other thing I really have that I have 2 other things. I apologize. I see my paper folded up on me there. So we had a bunch of records that were beat. I didn't put the lengths because I ran out of room. Everyone's looking at this piece of paper. I have everything jammed down. I did put the lengths. Look at that. I put them on the ones that I didn't talk about. Okay. So Aaron's flatfish, his 33 3/4. That tied his own record, so he got that. Brock, your pollock, that beat your own pollock record. I believe you had a pollock in before. My pike record beat. It was Teddy's. Teddy had that 30.
Yeah, Teddy had the biggest one.
Teddy had that 30-incher, so I beat that. And then here was a funky one. We actually talked about a little bit about this. So we can't remember who and I don't have the spreadsheet up in front of me, but we think it was Mark with a 13 1/4. We're going to blame you, Mark. You had a 13 1/4-inch white perch. Both Nate and I in the last week and a half tied that with yellow perch. So yellow perch and white perch have the same, they're the same size. So we lumped them together in one category for this tournament. So Mark, Nate, and I are the 3 record holders. If I'm incorrect on that, I'll make sure that we talk about it next week.
Yeah.
And offer a sincerest apologies to whoever I left out of that. So here's a good one. This one was a shock, but where he was fishing, and I think I did say it at Wachusett on the air. So sorry.
Yeah, you did.
But
That's
there's
right.
I didn't say where, and I don't even know the place. So
Oh no, it's a massive reservoir.
Yeah. Teddy with that 23 1/4-inch Laker.
yeah.
That's
that was the key.
Yeah, that was a big fish for him, and that's probably what held out. Well, yeah, that's definitely the difference between him and Nate. So that's the fish that cemented him into second. And then here's another one, Mark. Your 14 3/4-inch crappie. That is a big damn crappie.
That's a huge
That's a-
crappie.
Yes, it is.
That's a
Dinner
beast. Did you take a picture and turn that in for a pin?
No.
I'll show you how to do that. You still have the picture on your phone, right?
Yeah.
I'll show you how to do that before you leave. It's easy.
Yeah.
You should be getting pins for these fish, Mark.
Well, I used to do the pins when I used to catch monster trout, and I had a bunch of them, and I had a bunch of pins at home for brookies and browns and shit. But I don't know. I just always like to just release them. I was sick of killing them to get a pin, but now they have the
Catch and release, yeah.
program. So
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
Yep.
And I've caught there's some big calicos in South. I've caught way bigger than that.
don't burn your
They're
spot, dude.
Huge, man.
Don't burn your spot. I was very careful last time, or last episode, about when I thanked you for showing me your ingenious methods of abusing trout. That I did not say where and I did not say how. So if you want to burn it on your own, that's your business. And then for the last record I have beaten, we talked about this one too before we went on air in our little intermission. So the last record for points was Mark with 27 for the total tournament. Now we didn't do points in June, so this was the August only. Is all we had to go on. But as far as going over 27, Brock obviously did. I did as well, and Nelson did. So 3 of us, but Brock, your name is going to sit on the records because you got the 32, man. So nice job.
Cool.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
a big number. Let's see if we can beat it.
That's tough. I mean,
So now, if I'm not mistaken, 3 tournaments through, we haven't had a competitor outscore all of the Ken athletes. There's always been a Ken athlete on top.
yeah.
Technically,
Good point.
So
Technically.
challenge thrown out to the competitors.
Challenge definitely thrown out. Oh wow!
And that's why they're can athletes, you know?
That's just going to make that's just going to make December that much uglier, really.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
going to be interesting right there.
Yep. And then the last bit of numerical data that I pulled up that I thought was kind of neat. Seth, I don't know if you're aware when you're using Fish Donkey as an administrator, there's an option that lets you download every submission. So I kept that as a nice, check to myself to make sure I was making sure that, every week, because they're organized by date, they're organized by name, you name it. I was making sure that the longest fish for every week was properly taken care of. I have separate tabs in my Excel sheet for every week, and I was taking that document down and breaking it down.
All right.
I have OCD.
From his screenshots, I just never question his methods. I'm like, guys,
So
You got this.
yeah, right. Just here's the stats I want.
the key to working with Excel is doing it pantsless. Just letting you know.
Oh, perfect.
So
I understand.
It's also clear to me now.
So the last thing I looked at, and this is not in, well, I can make it in order, I guess. We had, for this tournament, a total of 257 fish submitted.
Wow.
All right.
Crazy.
I know you would like that because I know,
Yeah.
I think the first tournament you were very happy with the number of fish being turned in. So here's the top.
Fishies.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Amazing.
Here's the top 7. Once it got past these, it was kind of sporadic, so I just went with the top 7 submissions. So Teddy put in 19 fish. All right. Brock put in 22. And then Nate Chagnon put in 24. Nelson put in 25. Mark, you put in 31. Tim Jacks put in
Nice.
32. And I put in 34.
Holy crap.
So I'm going to figure out a way to make this kind of count. But again, those are the number. It's just a number because I put in that many fish, but I was
That's every fish.
Yeah, I was
even
calling-
the ones that didn't.
correct.
Oh,
Correct.
that's
You're
awesome.
calling
the ones that
out.
got called out. Yeah.
So it's nice to see that
It
the
is.
top 7 people that put in the most submissions, finished.
That's a cool stat.
Basically in the top 7. So
Yeah.
me, all of us 3 are in there, and then the top 4 finishers in the competitors bracket. Or the competitors division. That's nice to see. So it does matter. The more fish you put in, the better chance you have at.
And how many
So
hubcaps were
that
caught?
brings up an interesting point, though, because when I was trying to get the word out about this tournament before it launched on one of the fishing pages, I had a guy asking me, "What's the time in reward?" Or it's like he pointed out, he's like, some people don't get a fish every day in the month. Some people only get a fish a couple days, so on and so forth. You said Mark put in 31 fish. You did that in 4 days.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and I was trying to point out, it's like one good weekend, one good fishing day
It can change it.
can change this
Yep.
whole tournament, can get you on top. Again, it's the aspect of, in August I beat myself up because I'm not a bassman.
Yep.
And I just keep watching the largemouth category, and I'm like, I came out of August feeling like you did.
Oh
Where
my
I was
God.
just like, do I even know how to fish anymore?
Let's
And I had
not
to go
open
back
that
to-
scab up, Brock. All right? We've got some healing going on. All right.
But I had to step back and go, do I want to do this? Because I kind of hurt disc golf for myself for a while by going too competitive with it, and I was like, so I had to step back. And after that, it was like, go back to basics, see what's going on. So
Yep.
I was trying to sell it, to these people. I was like, look, it doesn't matter if you don't get a fish every day. You get out there, you get that one thing, you take that right approach, anybody can play in this game.
Yeah. Oh,
You know?
absolutely.
And Mark put in 31 fish in 4 days.
That's impressive.
Well, I know I was hitting enough that I have to do a lot of chores this month to make up for it. So
Yeah, I'm going to fail a class, just so you're aware. But it's neat that Teddy finished second. Brock, you finished first in each division, and you guys had the least amount of submissions. Now I know that doesn't reflect the amount of fish you actually caught because, if you catch I don't know. If you catch, let's say an 8-inch bluegill, and then you catch another 8-inch bluegill, you're not going to submit that.
Right.
I wish I could catch an 8-inch bluegill. Just saying. But, it doesn't reflect that, but it was a neat thing to see that the top 7 submissions were all the top 7 finishers for each division. So it was I was kind of happy to see that. What else, what are your other thoughts on this? How did we do
Yeah. No. Do we have time for a little story?
We definitely have time for stories.
So, funny story is, me and Mark go out on the very first day, right? I was like, I'm gonna be in on this one. I don't want to be like one of the main fish, main anglers, but I just want to make sure my presence is known. So we go out there and catch a fish, and woo, caught a fish, throw it back, everything's fine.
Yep.
And I don't know if you know about hole in the wall, but if you experience hole in the wall, I did a little too much fish whistling that morning.
Gotcha.
And so Mark catches a fish, enters it. He's like, haha, I was the first one. I was like, first one for what? He's like, I've entered the first fish on the tournament. I'm like, oh, I totally caught a fish and didn't enter it. I could have been the first
That's
one.
what I was talking. 15 and a quarter inch calico, threw it back in the water.
Oh, my.
It was
You
a
didn't
gorgeous.
I'm like, dude, you didn't want to register that? And he's like, oh shit.
Oh yeah, I have an established tournament I've been running for 3 months. I forgot.
And then I caught like a 9
Yeah,
inch perch or
exactly.
something.
And like a couple minutes later, he catches one. Doo-doo-doo, hee-haw. And I was like, and then starts shitting on me for the next hour.
Oh, man.
Can't believe you didn't enter that, man. You could have been the first one.
Well, you did have a perch entered eventually, right? I mean, that was nice to
Yeah.
see you on the board.
Yeah, I got a perch.
You know what? One last thing I didn't put a note on to mention, but nobody beat your brown trout. You did get one brown trout in. Nobody beat
Oh
it.
man,
So-
it was a rough month.
Yeah.
Brown spawn this time of the year, so they don't feed it. They're tough. But
You got one, and that was it. It held on. Nobody else got one. So
nice.
That's crazy. 3 months and nobody's beaten that.
Right?
That's amazing, man.
And honestly,
your
like it's a
honey
target fish. Like I target them.
Yeah.
Like I just love catching them. Like I want to go to New Zealand and catch big German browns and just go. It's a dream of mine. But it's someday.
It blows my mind because I'm like, this is like we live right near the Swift River, like one of the best trout fisheries. Like it's just common knowledge amongst all kinds of anglers, and the fact I'm like, really, nobody's beaten that.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Did you see the one the guy caught fly fishing in the Deerfield this year?
yeah,
That was crazy.
Unbelievable, 18 pounds.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's a beast.
Oh Jesus.
The one they netted last year in the Swift, the 17-pounder they netted, tricking them.
There's big ones. I mean, they're
huge.
definitely out there, but man,
They're inside. They're in other places too. They're
Yep.
all over the place, man. There's a place down the Cape too. There's a pond down there that holds huge browns too. Yep. But I haven't been able to get down there, so maybe early December if the stuff's not frozen over. That's a good thing about down the Cape is a lot of those
It won't
ponds down there
freeze.
they don't freeze over,
Yeah.
so you can fish them if you got a boat. That you can
Definitely.
put in down there. So we'll see.
And I know some of the bait and tackle shops down there. Particularly, I'm going to mention one that I have called up. I believe the owner is actually from Western Mass originally.
Yep.
You can call up the Goose Hummock Shop. That is Goose spelled like goose, and Hummock HUMMOCK for all you people that are looking to fish the Cape this winter. Give them a call, and they will say, they'll let you know if everything's frozen down there. I called last year; it saves me a 2.5 hour ride out there. So.
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's good. And we have no affiliation with them, but again, they're cool, and I call them up and they give me information. So if you're out there and they give you info, go buy a bag of rubber worms or something.
Nice.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's cool. I actually think some of the extended family are involved with them sponsorship wise, right? I believe there's a few of them because I see their posts come up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, either way, give them a call. They're good people. They'll answer your questions.
Nice.
Definitely.
So 3 in the books, guys. We got December coming.
Not too bad.
Hopefully the skim ice stays away. We either have full ice or we have open water. Let's see what we can do. I know a lot of the competitors I was in touch with this tournament. So like Eric Graves, Nate Shagnon, Tim Jacks, a couple other people were sending me texts pretty regularly. They had some suggestions for stuff, and I had to let them know, hey, we're doing this for one reason or we're doing this from another based on history for the past 3 months. But anybody who was a contestant, drop the marker. Anybody who's a contestant and has any input on this, any feedback, we're all open to hear it, and we'd love to hear
Absolutely.
it. We can go out and catch brown trout and pike and bass all day, and Brock can hit the salt and whoop our asses.
Yep.
But, the fact that it's not just us 3 fishing against each other and Seth throwing back massive crappie. Makes it a lot more
That
fun.
would have changed the standings.
Yeah.
That would have changed some things.
Fail.
Yeah, because that would have dropped me. That would have dropped me back. Would have dropped. Would have dropped. Who else had a crappie? Do you?
Learning
I had a crappie.
Yeah, would have dropped. Would have
I
dropped
made
all
mine
of us.
at one
Been
point.
toast.
Yeah. So. Yep. So yeah, if anybody has any feedback that was involved, we are open to hear it.
Yeah, we're
There's-
trying to make it the most unique tournament out there.
Yep.
One of the most unique. You know, there's plenty of good tournaments out there, but you know, we have the beauty of having Fish Donkey out there, letting us utilize the platform. They've been very kind to us, and so we look forward to expanding it. So we need your help to make that happen, and together we can make this super awesome. And we planted at least 40 something trees this tournament in the Amazon. All of our sponsors on behalf of Chronic Trips are going to double that
Yep.
on behalf of the sponsors. So we planted almost 100 trees in the Amazon. We're going to reorient to California next tournament. With other programs that we've done, we used to focus on California when they had the massive wildfires.
Yep.
And we're going to go back to California.
It's a good idea.
And help with California and plant as many trees as we can. The tournament helps us do that. So thank you all, and love seeing everything just play out and evolve.
And adding to that, I do want to make note that at the beginning of the tournament, with me getting my feet under me, learning the app from the admin side, Fish Donkey support with Bonnie was phenomenal.
Yeah.
So they're out of Minnesota. They're a startup out of Minnesota. And
So attentive.
yeah, so they would get back to any issues we had. Particularly, there was an issue with the donkey over the first couple of days. The donkey was not going off.
Yeah,
and
I was sad.
she was
Lack of donkey is.
We need that donkey.
she
man.
was very, very surprised that someone was actually calling because they weren't hearing the donkey. She goes, "You don't understand." She goes, "Everyone calls up and says, how do I turn this thing off?"
That's the motivation. When I hear that and I'm sitting home and I'm like, all right, I gotta go fishing.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like I got a story about my wife too. Like this is open. She's turned into a whole new animal with fishing. So the first two tournaments, I would help her, because she didn't like to take the fish off the hooks or
Yep.
handle the fish or anything. So I'd hold the fish for her. And when we had our last meeting, Sean told her that, you got to hold your own fish. So I just want to thank Sean for this because this is freed up fishing time for me.
Oh, definitely.
So when I fish with my wife, I fish for my wife. I help her do everything. So since this, I've told her, you have to do everything yourself now. You have to take the fish off the hooks. So this has forced her out of her comfort zone.
Yeah.
She's taking fish off hooks now. She is baiting her own hooks with power bait. She won't touch worms or nothing, but she's baiting her own
We'll get
hooks.
there. We'll get there.
So she's doing what she needs to do. So it's really,
That's awesome.
It's freed me up. So when we go fishing, I can fish. I can do my thing. So, but yeah, there was another story, but I'll let her tell that.
You guys laughed pretty hard when I said that. And I said, hey, by the way, at the end of the August tournament, I said, because she was taking the selfies with, I believe the selfies were fine. It was
Yep.
the measurements
Right.
on the board that she
I was
wasn't.
holding it on the board
Yeah.
for her while she would snap the picture.
I made mention to her about her incredibly manly, hairy wrists. and you both said, yeah, we'll take care of that next tournament. Sorry. So it's all good.
Yep.
I knew where it was coming
She's
from.
been, but I'll tell you though, it's really, I don't know, it's pretty cool watching her do it all herself, and I don't even have to do it anymore.
Oh,
And now
yeah.
she ties her own hooks on the lines and everything too. Like I taught her how to tie some knots.
That's awesome.
Perfect.
So
Yeah,
killing
that's
it.
huge, man.
Good job,
That's
Laura.
great.
Perfect.
Good job.
Laura.
So really, again, with Fish Donkey, they were great. If anybody's running a tournament or planning on running it, I do have nothing but great things to say about their customer service. And again, we need more donkey.
We need more donkey.
Also,
It's like cowbell.
yes. One other note was when I was on the phone with her, while she was working through an issue and I stayed on the line, I said, well, hey, you guys are located in Minnesota. And we got into a conversation about that with all my time I spend up there. And she said, oh, don't worry. When you get to Minnesota next time, she goes, just call me. We'll get you on the good tournaments. I said, okay. So now I have an in.
You've got an
Bonnie,
in.
what are
Yeah.
you trying to say?
I know.
What are you trying to say, Bonnie? The good tournaments.
The good tournaments, yeah. All right. So thanks to Bonnie and Fish Donkey. Thanks to all you guys for letting me take the reins with this. I hope I didn't piss anybody off. If I did, I don't care. But, no, this was a blast. So I'm looking forward to December. And
I think we're all looking forward to the next one.
Oh yeah.
I think December's going to be good. Almost every week I have people reach out to me asking how to join.
Amazing.
And I send them all the same thing. I'm like, just download Fish Donkey, do a search for Chronic Trips, and get right involved with it. So it'll be really good.
The amount of people I hear just saying they learned from through Jigs and Bigs and from you two, and like the amount of feedback, the overwhelming feedback. Chronic Trips team
awesome.
thanks everybody, because sometimes you do things and you're like, well, what's going on, and then when people give you the feedback, that's what matters. And
that's exactly it.
the reason why you need to help us evolve it. If there's an issue, just let us know. Sean will take care of it.
Yep.
And
I'm on it. It's my job.
and we'll try to make it the best. So
Yeah, it's been absolutely awesome. I think December is going to be great. Some of our former guests, I'm trying to edge them along to jump in. Specifically, I'm going to call one of them out right now. Specifically, Megan Long, Largemouth Sass.
yeah.
She needs to do this.
Oh,
100% needs to do this because she fishes in Louisiana, brackish water. She fishes for redfish and all kinds of stuff. And definitely, this is a lot of fun.
And there's sea trout down there too. So
There are, speckled trout. As a matter of fact,
so is that in the?
Hold on a second.
Does that count in the ocean or does that count as fresh? How does that?
Counts in any 5 because it's not a category.
See that sticker?
Yep.
That's a speckled trout. She inspired the meme of the girl. Well, that's her.
Nice.
That's cool.
really? Oh, far out.
Since then, I have poisoned that. It's numerous. use that in numerous occasions.
Oh, well, it's inspired
Yes.
Jigs and Bigs immensely. Like,
Yes. Yes. In an absolute immature way.
I'd expect nothing less.
Yeah.
Time for maturity is over.
We have
2020.
We have standards.
Good stuff.
So yeah, that is it. That is the wrap up. This has been a great tournament. We caught a lot of big fish, a lot of fish submitted, and again, looking forward to December. Thank you guys again for letting me run this.
Thank you for doing all the stats and shit. It's awesome.
You did a great job, man.
Thank you, everybody.
Awesome work.
Congrats to all the winners. Of everything.
Maybe by December of 2022, 2023, you'll be ready to step back in, Bobby. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
I think that was one
so.
of my highlights.
When I lost my mind and was nearly hospitalized, it was a good. Yeah, it was great.
Good times.
He's recording this segment for Veterans Day, which you guys will hear in a week.
Oh, okay.
And as he's doing that, I'm like having this mental breakdown. I'm like, the audio sounds right. What am I doing with my life? What's happening? That's legitimately how it was playing out in my head. But we did note in the intro that it was the beard.
Yeah.
Once I shaved the beard, and you can see it in my statistics, in my database, there was a significant downturn. August was great. I think I caught a record number of fish for August. Like 30 fish. It was pretty good. But, yeah, unbelievable. So we're working on that. We're back in it.
Bring it back.
Yeah.
My problem was it wasn't so much the shaving the beard; it was leaving the soul patch. That was, I mean, that's a cardinal sin. Fish can see that, man.
My wife likes it.
You can see that. Like, what the?
That guy's got a soul patch. I ain't going anywhere near that lure.
Clearly, this guy plays jazz flute. Oh, goodness. I have too much fun with this.
So that's it. I leave on a promo for December. We'll be doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we have some walkable, safe ice. I'd like to get involved in that, and if not, I'll drive out to the Cape.
That's absolutely. Do what you got to do. One thing for anybody who is interested in getting out here, like I mentioned earlier, download that Fish Donkey app right now. You can search for all kinds of tournaments with that app right there, but do a search for Chronic Trips. You'll see it pop right up there for December. Go ahead and sign up. Sign up early. That way, once December 1st rolls around, everything goes live, at 5 a.m. that day, I think? Something like that. Super early.
Did I put 5 a.m. this one? I think I put midnight to midnight.
I think this time we did midnight
We actually
to midnight.
switched it.
Oh, yeah,
to
that's right, yeah.
It was at first it was midnight.
Yes.
Yeah.
We switched it because
Watch
the
out for
average.
the curfew
I
coming.
know. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Watch out.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's that. Looking forward to the next one, and
Yeah, it's going to be a blast.
1,000%.
yep. Everyone have a good, safe Thanksgiving coming up. That's
Yeehaw.
it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with Saul from Solifornia. If you're interested in their movement and what they're trying to do for fishermen and anglers all around the world, as far as involving art and fashion and utility, really, in a lot of ways, you're going to want to stick around for this. We'll be back in a bit. Don't go too far. Alrighty, guys, it's Bobby Roast Beef, and we have an interview this week for you guys. And in the beef seat this week, we have Saul from Solifornia. And Solifornia is an apparel company and really a movement. I want to go further than just saying they're an apparel company, because there's really kind of an interesting movement here. And it was a mutual friend between the show and between Solifornia, Todd Grubb, that kind of connected the dots and lined things up. And something in a video that he said really struck me, and it was the comparison of how they feel about fishing to the way I guess the culture of skateboarding was in the 70s, and that really resonated with me.
Hell yeah.
So I want to read something that comes from, I found it on their stories right here, and here we go. Introducing the element of creativity to the world of fishing. Solifornia is based on the belief that fishing is a pure and simplistic art form, connecting us directly to nature's beautiful insanity. Our mission: spark a creative establishment, a true fisherman culture, ultimately bringing humanity closer to nature. By integrating fishing with art, music, and street culture, we are inspiring the youth to visualize fishing through a new lens. The Solifornia movement transforms fishing into a mysterious, psychedelic, and incredible universe. We believe that today's fishing culture is just like skateboarding was in the 70s, ready to evolve into a die-hard lifestyle and global community that is led by the youth. Our generation can change fishing forever. Now, I think that is amazing. It is probably not my generation that's going to change fishing forever, but your generation for sure. And I 100% am behind that and believe it. So, Saul, welcome to the show, buddy.
Thank you, Bobby. And well said. That was a very nice introduction.
Yeah.
And you nailed it on the head. I think that today fishing has evolved like we have never seen in the past. And just to hit on what you're saying about the 70s, Lords of Dogtown, for those who don't know.
Yeah.
Lords of Dogtown is what I'm getting at. So back in the 70s, skateboarding used to be all about, it was perceived almost like figure skating is today.
Yep.
Not cool, strange, whatever. It's cool for some people, I guess, do your thing, but I don't know. Not cool. Girls don't think it's sexy. So what we want to do is integrate art, or what we are doing and have been doing is integrate art, creativity, art, music, street culture. And what that does is it really, number one, it showcases fishing in nature to a lot of people who had never had the opportunity to be exposed to it.
Yep.
For example, Bass Pro, there's no Bass Pro shops in Brooklyn. And so what does that mean? That means that they're not spending any marketing dollars trying to hit people in Bronx, in Harlem, in Brooklyn. And so what that does is people never even get the chance to hold a rod, even more so see a commercial.
Yep.
Am I allowed to curse? Fuck.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. See a fucking commercial. They can't. So, Cabela's and Bass Pro, it's there. That's a monopoly right there. And I love Bass Pro. I really do. But, it came to a point where it was just so generic in a sense, where it doesn't give the brands the space to create quality.
Yeah.
Because the people don't expect quality. And for example, you go to the fishing shop, your local bait shop, you get a pack of Eagle Claw hooks, right? There's 4 words on the back. They could write a little more, helpful information, like what the fuck? Just maybe they could write, good luck, sir. Something.
Yeah.
Even more so, then you open the bag and there's no fucking zipper, or they open it, they create it, so you open it and you can't close it. More than likely, you're going to have to buy more. And just that equates to pollution, number one.
Yep.
Number two, it just, there's no care. And look at Hurley, look at Ruka, look at Volcom. These brands inspired my generation to, I mean, the whole culture. I lived that shit growing up, and so did so many other people's. And it's so important to have brands that actually are able to care, are able to have people that are receptive to quality, to creativity. For example, I'll go into clothing. You know, Solifornia creates hoodies, joggers, t-shirts, hats. And it was not our intention to come out with clothing first, but why did we do it? It's because it all starts from creating a fisherman way of life.
Yep.
And I know that sounds a little, bland, but what that really means is walking outside. Like, if you're a surfer, you're going to classify yourself as a surfer.
Yep.
At least, or that's mentally, externally, however the fuck you want to cut it. Fishing or a fisherman, when you think fisherman in your mind, you've seen old dude sitting on a bucket, maybe your grandpa. Like, when I see fishing in my mind, I want to see some hot woman or girl, or I don't know, just a graceful, beautiful woman, casting. And you know what? Many beautiful women's casting. You go to your state park, there's cool people everywhere. There's not some dude with a license tacked to his head. And no offense to those guys.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But like, that's, you know what I mean? It's just like, it's a
generational thing for sure. For sure it is. Yeah, absolutely. And I think like you make a really good point, because I think back to like what you're saying, like the brands like Hurley and Volcom. I'm a little bit older. When I think like skating culture, I immediately go to Vision, and that Vision streetwear stuff really was one of those first like skate. Like from the universe of skating that really kind of became in the mainstream, and Thrasher as well. Like you started seeing this stuff in the 80s, and you're like, oh, okay. And I mean, I'm a guy from New England. You know what I mean? I'm outside of any major city or anything like that, and I'm an entire country away from California, where all this stuff was born. And it's like, so when it kind of became part of the culture, then in the early 90s, you started seeing a lot more people were sort of like
jumping on board.
Yeah, exactly.
It's and there were more revolution.
Of like, it was something that they could be proud of. And what I love about what the stuff that you do, so a lot of what you do has to do with sort of representation of like your vision for fishing. But I love the thoughtfulness. Like you mentioned, like your hoodies and stuff on the drawstrings for the hood. You guys have line cutters there. Man, that is like, it's something that there are so many companies out there that you're thinking about the people who are going to be using this and want to represent it. And you've modeled the look after different species of fish, which is amazing to me, man. Applause to you.
Thank you. And even more so, I didn't even speak about the clothing. I wish I did. I forgot.
We'll get there.
Rant. I got caught in the rant, but I was saying that, the clothing is the direct, like, you can really see night and day, right? Yeah. You go into a Salt Life. I don't know if that's stores. I don't know where these people buy this shit, but you go to a store, you see a Salt Life vectorized, either Salt Life logo, a large amount that's on a shitty polyester shirt, and they're charging $20 for it. It's shit. Yeah. It's careless shit, and people want more. And, it's ridiculous. Yeah. So, what we did, our approach was to create really expensive quality product that, to be frank, we didn't make really any money on, because it's high cost. This hoodie costs, initially we were planning to sell it at a $60.
Oh yeah. And
retail.
At that price, it's worth every penny.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Now, what happened was Bass Pro Shops thought we were too edgy, probably because our catch fish or get high trying movement. But nevertheless, we didn't get into a big box store, and we kind of had a longer run of this collection.
Yep.
We are just about sold out. We have a few more, but for for the most part, we're sold out, and we're still proud. We're still having the same intentions, even if we don't make money. The next collection, maybe the 5th collection, will make $1 billion because we truly believe that the wave is catching on in the US and especially globally. There's dope people that fish, and girls as well, and Black people as well. Because you know what? Go to any main fishing brand on Instagram. How many Black people do you see? I don't see many. And you know what? That's a problem.
But they are there.
Oh, they're there.
They are there.
I mean, maybe not in Brooklyn, but you go down to the South, dude. So why are they excluded? I don't understand.
Yep.
And maybe I'm being a little bit over, exaggerated, but I'm not. It's all white folk, and that's cool and all. It is. I mean, whatever that means. But why do we exclude, like that? And again, this goes back to the problem of the monopoly.
Yep.
Right? There's only very few legitimate companies. And when I say companies, I don't mean Instagram bullshit pages. I mean companies.
You're talking about publicly traded, large scale.
Yeah, or private, Bass Pro private. But yes. So that's a huge problem. And that transcends into every city. The cities are being stripped of their opportunity to become one with nature and to see what fishing can do for them. And so our mission, being based in New York City and Brooklyn, we're doing everything we can on a local level, but more so taking those learnings and seeing how to apply them on a mass scale to really, really make a change.
Well, and let's be honest. I mean, you guys are based in New York, and like New York is known as the center of the universe. So what starts to catch there, and we're talking about timeline and the way the fishing community is sort of made up, and what generally the fishing community is made up of, that's changing, and I think we're right on the edge of where that's starting to happen, where you're getting, all types of people that are, especially, and I hate to use COVID as a reason for it, but all sorts of people are getting into this as their first time. They're fishing for the first time or discovering this, and it's no longer that super boring weekend activity that your grandparents did to burn off a few hours in the morning. That it is absolutely changing, and for better or for worse, we've got YouTubers and influencers and Instagram and all of these ways that you're seeing all types of different anglers kind of coming together and doing amazing shit together. So, I mean, I think, and like you made a really good point about maybe that first run didn't land in a big box store, but as the fishing culture changes, there's going to have to be adaptations made in the industry around to allow that within if they want to survive long term,
Exactly.
I think it's
Couldn't
amazing.
have said it better.
I really do.
Said it
I
better.
think what you're doing is fantastic. I am excited to see when you guys start carrying some sizes like 2XL and 3XL, though.
That shit got sold out so quick.
Oh, I believe it, man. I will say that is one demographic of fishing folks that I have found are the big guys like to go fishing for sure.
That's true. That is true. I wish I had more of a belly myself, but it's all right one day.
No, it is fantastic. I love like a lot of the designs you have. For those of you guys that are interested, check out Solifornia on Instagram. You'll see a lot of the things that they've got, not only just for products but for artwork. And it really is kind of a cultural thing. It's pretty impressive to see what you've done with this, Sol. You've really kind of created something amazing here, and I hope that it's going to go even better. One of the things I love more than anything is the Fish 2020 image, the buttons, the voting buttons.
Yeah.
I think that is just absolutely killer. So let's go ahead and talk about let's kind of get into the history while we're talking about Solifornia. Let's talk about how was it, first off, that you got into not only fishing, but how was it that you got into like the drive to kind of change the game? Like, what was the road like for Solifornia starting out to where you are?
Love it. Great question, Bobby. So I started my career at a company called Spray Ground. It's this backpack company right here.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you're familiar. So it's this company basically took backpacks, back in the day, it was just solid bags. Herschel was really the only thing that had a little more excitement. We took spray ground. We made backpacks into a canvas for art in the street culture, streetwear community. We blew this shit blew up. We had, I was the head of marketing there for 3 years. I personally built that Instagram up to about 200,000 followers.
Oh, wow.
And how that started was straight organic. We didn't have budget. It was all soul. It was all going into the, to the inner cities and really like finding the right artists who have passion to change, to express their artwork and inspire others through that collaboration.
Yep.
And before we knew it, we started getting inquiries from big artists. Like Chris Brown was our first big collaboration.
No kidding.
We designed the capsule collection with him. Spike Lee, Cruella, all kinds of celebrities, artists, etc. And so I left Spray Ground, and I'm like, shit, fishing was always my passion and my reason for living and stuff. So when I left there, I was like, wait a minute, backpacks, right? Fishing.
Yep.
Fishing's pretty, it's a lot bigger. It's different, but I was like, it's the same thing. I want to basically take a backpack or fishing, same whatever analogy, right? And make it cool. Give it, and it's as simple as that. By the way, it's as simple as that. It's making it, turning fishing into a canvas to express creativity.
Gotcha.
I think that would sum it up real good.
Excellent. No, absolutely. So let's talk about.
And Bobby, wait, just to jump back to your COVID thing, because I think that's a really interesting point, because I want to first say, what really changed was content. The second Instagram and Facebook became real, everyone in the world, first of all, they started seeing other people fish.
Yeah.
First of all, actually, they started realizing, oh, I can take a picture of my catch. That wasn't always around.
Yeah.
I can take a picture. I don't have to say a fucking story and half the people don't believe me. Now I have a camera. I can also hold it closer to the camera. Now that shit looks bigger. People like to do that. Anyways, though,
guilty.
Now there's a whole ecosystem. Yeah, everyone's guilty of that one way or another. So, and then, there's a whole ecosystem of fishermen and content now.
Yep.
And so that changed the whole industry so fast. I think more so than any other, genre of sport or activity. I mean, fishing never had that. And so that really showed everyone how big it is. And how creative you can get with it. So I think that's a great point you brought up. And then the COVID thing it's crazy. I'll speak for myself, but in my hometown, the lake became the new chill spot.
Oh, definitely.
We cruising down the block, we're chilling, we're smoking joints. There's groups of just people chilling, and you never see that. I don't give a shit if half of them aren't fishing.
Yeah.
They're chilling hard. I don't give a shit if they're feeling a vibe with the grass and they like the fucking grass. I don't care if they're looking at a duck and enjoying that.
Yep.
I don't care, but they're there.
And they're connecting with nature. Yep.
Yeah. And maybe some dude will be there and he'll try to cast and maybe he'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to catch shit because that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But that one cast could change that dude's life forever. And I really mean that.
Oh, yeah.
It happened to me years ago. It happened to so many people.
Yeah.
And, it's to give that to others is what could be better.
Yeah, absolutely right. No, I agree with you, man. It's like you get people and they're connecting with nature now more than they ever have. So I think that's it's a home run. It really is. And fishing is one of those things where you've gotten, you've got this culture now that's kind of coming out, and the technology has made it much easier to get the word out. I was listening to another fishing podcast from Meat Eater, actually. It's called Bent. And in one of the first few episodes I had ever heard. What's that?
With Meat Eater?
Yeah, it's the Meat Eater series. Its podcast is called Bent. And
cool.
they have they reference and what's interesting. So both of the hosts there, I think, are about my age. And actually, myself and Sean the Fisherman, we actually kind of fit the mold with these guys as far as age and demographic. Old like hardcore metal kids from like the in 80s and 90s and stuff, and that's kind of transition to fishing. And there was something that was said in there, and I forget which of the hosts had said it, but they're like, there was a time where like I would go fishing on the weekends, and I wouldn't be able to tell the guys in like the punk band I was in at the time because they were all going to laugh at me because I was going out and, buying live bait or whatever and going, trout fishing, for the early morning hours or something or whatever it might be.
What are they laughing at?
That's what I'm saying. And I think that has changed now. If nothing else, I think that has changed overall. Like yesterday, and I mean, this is kind of controversial in the fishing community. Some people will say, snub their nose at this, but I always look at the good thing. Last night, I was at work. I work in restaurants and I host game shows and stuff there. And as I'm packing up my gear at the end of the night, I see a young kid, probably in his early 20s, maybe mid 20s, come walking around, and he's wearing, because in the restaurants you have to wear a face cover, and he's wearing a Guggen Squad face bluff over his face and a Beefcake t-shirt. And I walked by and I gave him a Jigs and Big sticker. I was like, hey, man, here you go. Because it's become part of the culture to realize this guy digs fishing. He might dig what I'm doing. You see what I'm saying? So like now it's kind of become a thing where it's I mean, I feel like I'm pushing it if I say it's kind of cool, but it's something that people don't mind like wearing on their sleeve and saying like, oh yeah, I like to fish. This is what I do. I'm going fishing on this time. And it has changed in a big way. And so stuff like, the Guggens or any of that, it has changed it. And like I said, for better or for worse, you may love that about it. You might hate it, but like it's definitely getting out there and it's getting people more connected with nature. So I'm all about that. I am curious though, how was it that you discovered fishing? Because there's a very common story where you get this, where it's handed down from like a family member or a close friend of a family or something as a young person. How was it that you discovered fishing and then found your passion to where it grew?
When I was very young, I was a pretty weird kid. I love nature. Yeah. I love nature. So, all the kids are playing at recess or some shit. I'm probably like looking at a frog, sitting by myself, thinking about nature. And so like that kind of inspired me to become a really gigantic fan of Steve Irwin. So Steve Irwin became like my, everything. I think Steve Irwin is one of the, legends of the universe. So I think Steve Irwin, in my opinion, by far brought nature and humanity closer than anyone ever in history. And so Steve Irwin basically drew me into that, right? Bringing nature closer to humanity. And so my uncle happens to be a big fisherman. And so he introduced it to me. I started as a surf fisherman for striped bass, bluefish, stuff like that. And I instantly, fell in love with it. And actually, interestingly enough, about 3 years ago or 4 years ago, something like that, that's actually I started freshwater. I was never really a freshwater guy.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And then I started going to freshwater, and I really enjoyed the tranquility, the peace, of just the delicacy of like, it's so delicate. Throw one lure in or one piece of bait, you see the ripple effect on a calm lake. There's no one around you. It's surreal. So I think that calmness, and then obviously the payoff is seeing a fat bass slam that calmness out of the world. So I think that drew me really to freshwater, and freshwater drew me to a bigger picture of seeing globally and more so cities, right? Because not every state has an ocean. Yeah,
exactly. And it's funny that you bring that up, because that's one of the things I've always felt strongly about with freshwater is that when you're fishing freshwater, a lot of times people neglect urban fishing settings. and they forget, there's things. I'll give you an example. So I live in a city in Massachusetts called Holyoke, and Holyoke is kind of famous for its canal system off the Connecticut River. And, it's hard to fish, but generally people don't. Like, for the most part. And last year I decided I was just going to say screw it. And when I was looking for open water, when everything was frozen around me, instead of fishing the river, that's just so frustrating because it's so huge from the bank, I would go and try and fish this canal. Now, I've only done it once or twice and I never really had any luck, but I'm still trying to break it down. But there's fish in there. And when you have fresh water and you have a pond or some type of a creek system that goes through and you can catch like some decent fish out of there, there's magic there when you're like, wow, this was living in this completely ignored puddle that nobody's ever touched. And you're just like, this greatness was in here. It's mind blowing that those two things can exist. Like, that type of wild nature can happen in such a small, delicate environment that can be completely overlooked by everyday life. It just blows my mind.
It was fucking beautifully said, Bobby. Beautifully said. That was like a poem or some shit. And I think exactly what you just said is exactly how I feel about every single city. Look at Prospect Park where I live in Brooklyn. There's rats running around. There's Haitian circles of I don't even know what they're doing. They put tents over them and smoke some weed. Seems cool, but I just don't know. Yep. Anyways, no one's fishing, but I went there last year. I go there pretty often, and there's solid bass in there. There's big fish in there.
Definitely.
And again, this goes back to the first point we were speaking about, where it's like these people don't have an appetite because no one's serving that shit up to them, and I think that's where it starts.
Yep, I agree with you. 100%. So let's break down some of your preferences for when you're going out on the water. If you're going out for a day to recreate or get a little bit of, break away from the everyday life, what is your favorite season when you're going out to fish?
So my favorite season is definitely fall.
Yep.
Obvious reasons, bass are ready in fall, but my ideal, I guess, way to fish, which I think pretty much, a lot of people probably won't like this, but I don't give a shit. Like,
it's okay. Yeah.
But I don't really. So I like to go to, this is like my ideal situation.
Yep.
This is like beautiful Solifornia ideal. Okay. I go to my spot. I go to this spot called Turkey Swamp. Just to give it a little context, in New Jersey, that's like my favorite spot where I live near. It's an hour away, but I go there with nothing except for a rod and hooks, right? Okay. I bring size 2 hooks and 8s. So what I do is I'll dig up a worm. I'll dig up that worm.
Yep.
Then I'll cut that worm up into like a bunch of pieces, maybe even 3, a couple pieces. I'll catch a few sunnies or crappie. And I'll put them in my bucket. And after that, I'll take my bigger hook, I'll thread it through the nostrils, and which actually doesn't even, it doesn't hurt the fish.
Yeah.
It doesn't harm the fish because you're not hitting any bone or anything really. It goes straight through. So you shouldn't even feel any tension when you're going through the nostril.
Gotcha.
I cast that shit out. A bucket mouth comes and just shreds it into pieces. I hook that shit and I wrestle it to the shore.
Yep.
So, and why is that my ideal? It's because I'm going there with nothing and just using the ecosystem as becoming one with nature. That's becoming one with nature. It's using the ecosystem, and like, you don't need anything. Once you tap in and understand that fish are already eating worms or bugs or this or that, like, you start to understand how it works and the beauty of the orchestration, right? It's like it's a crazy orchestration. So to be part of that without external objects,
you're not overcomplicating it.
I'm simplifying.
Yeah, you're simplifying it. Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think that's part of the the appeal. Like right now, I haven't used live bait in a long time. It's been a few years. And part of the appeal that I like is the challenge of making something artificial look real. And I'm not saying there's a right or a wrong. It's like you do what you love, and that's all that matters. But that I totally
As long
get
as
what
you don't hurt no fish.
Exactly. And the thing is, like what you're doing is you're really kind of playing the food chain. Is ultimately what it is, and that's just nature happening. The only thing you're putting in there is the line and the hook.
Exactly.
That's really it. Now, what are the types of bodies of water that you prefer, that you like best? Are you more about small ponds? Are you looking for larger bodies of water to kind of like break down, or are you one of those guys that just needs current, like you're looking for a river or a stream?
So, unlike titties, I like flat. I like flat water.
Okay.
Right? You didn't think that joke was funny. I like big titties.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Water.
Hang on.
Okay.
There we go. I didn't hear the first part.
Okay, yes. The
That's
titties
pretty
and then
good.
the flat water. Good. So a very calm lake is my ideal scenario where there's no humans, even though I want a scene. I do want a scene, but my ideal is like I'm alone. I'm on a very calm, no wind day.
Yep.
Flat water. I could see the ripples. I could see through the water. And that's of course fresh water. I'm not such a big river guy because I don't fly fish. But if I'm gonna do salt water, again, I like fishing from the shore. I'm not such a boat person.
I got you.
And so, I'll throw pencil popper or storm shad, catch some striped bass.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the biggest, you catch some big fish off the beach. Like the biggest striped bass I've caught was 33 pounds. That was right, in the surf. That's crazy.
That's a big striper, dude. Nice.
Big fish.
Nice.
So that's kind of like the younger me, right? And then I got into freshwater.
Mm-hmm.
My most notable fish was New Jersey. Has I believe it's the record largemouth bass is about 10.5, I believe.
Yep.
I caught a 9.5 pound largemouth.
Oh, no kidding.
And I almost beat the record. I mean, this thing was psychotic. I mean, holy shit. So I know where this motherfucker lives, and he's bigger now, and there's more of them. He's not the biggest guy on the lake, I'll tell you that. So that's my next like objective, goal, dream is to break the New Jersey record, which is really low, which would be fucking a bit. I mean,
Oh, absolutely.
Like crazy.
That's awesome, man. I'm curious about this question. List 3 people, and they could be living or dead, that you want to fish with.
Steve Irwin and Tupac Shakur.
Steve Irwin, Tupac Shakur. You got a third one?
No.
It's a good list.
You could come, Bobby.
I could. Excellent. We should do that.
I'd like you to come.
We should do that. That you're only a couple hours away from me, so we could make that happen. We should definitely fish.
By the way, you're right. You're right. And just to elaborate on that, because I spoke about Steve Irwin before, Tupac Shakur is the other pillar of Solifornia. We have 2 pillars. And why? It's really because Steve Irwin, like I said before, connects humanity with nature better and bigger and stronger than anyone in history. Yeah. And I believe that Tupac Shakur understood humanity better than anyone in history. In my opinion, if you listen to lyrics, interviews, just history, and the man's a genius. He says in any city, look at the shittiest sidewalk, there'll still be grass growing through the cracks. Yeah, he understands the bigger picture and the problems that the inner cities face. Just listen to his songs. I mean, so that's really the heart of what we want to do and give opportunities to is really that. So those 2 pillars are what makes our philosophy and ideals at Solifornia.
Nice. Do you listen to music at all while you fish?
It's a good question. I do not.
You don't?
I don't.
Oh, okay.
Don't.
When you're on your way, on your way to the water, what would you be listening to kind of like pump yourself up?
I'll put some like, I'll put some Pac on. I'll put some Red Hot Chili Peppers, maybe.
Yep. Oh, dude, that's one of
maybe.
my favorites. Yes.
Yeah, like Blood Sugar Sex Magic is a good one. I like Eminem, 50 Cent. I like Biggie, of course, but just I'm not a new rapper kind of guy. I don't fucking trap music. Or,
I'm
little shits. I don't know who these people are.
I'm really not into a lot of the newer hip hop that's out there, but I will tell you, Action Bronson and everything he puts out, I will listen to all day while I'm fishing. It's just perfect. It's just perfect. I don't know what it is about it. I like him a lot.
It works.
Yeah, no, 100%. What is your goal for fishing overall? And the follow-up question is, what's your goal for Solifornia in, say, like the next 5 to 10 years? Where do you want to see, both personally as an angler and then also as somebody in the industry?
So, it's a good question. I think for fishing, it starts, what's your first question? That was a pretty big question.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So as far as fishing goes for you, like what's your goal for the next, like the short-term future, like 5 to 10 years?
So short-term, to put it simple, if you go outside and ask, well, it would be a really weird question to ask someone. But if you ask a guy or a girl, is fishing sexy? Is a fisherman sexy?
Oh,
it's not something you would ask someone, but if you would think that in perception.
Yep.
So that benchmark, I think, is a big statement. Like just how people see surfing today. If I see a girl surfing or know a girl surfing, that's cool to me. That's appealing. Versus today, they think it's like a NASCAR driver or some shit, which, by the way, I'm not against NASCAR, but it's there's nothing to do with fishing. It's like, whoa, I don't get it. So it feels closer to NASCAR than it does to surf, which is so wrong.
Yeah. No, I mean, they both involve the water. I mean, you would think one would transition right to the other. The two things would kind of work together, but yeah, I get what you're saying. Like more like, is fishing cool? Like if you ask the average person, like, what do you think of fishing? The thing you wouldn't expect them to say
fisherman or a fisherman.
Yes.
I'd like to see the word fisherman be used a lot more.
Yeah.
That's there's no, like, our next line that we're going to come out with is going to incorporate a new slogan we came up with, 100% fisherman. And, that's something that's like, it seems so simple, but think about it. Like, do you call yourself a fisherman? Very like I'm walking around with a hat that says 100% fisherman. You know how many comments I've got? It's crazy. It's unbelievable. So starting to associate yourself as a fisherman, genuinely, just like a surfer or skater who lives that shit. Yeah. That's where I want to get. That's what I would like to see.
Yeah. To make it part of where you that's a part of, you identify as that is a part of your life and a part of who you are as a person, not just something you kind of keep quiet and enjoy, and on the back burner, you want people to live it.
Yeah. Represent it, live it. And even more so the community. You touched on this before. I've been in so many random places and, Solifornia, Instagram, we don't have a big ass following like a lot of these fishing pages. We have a modest following, but when we post stories, whether it be in Puerto Rico or this state or Vermont or Maryland, I don't all over the place, many, many times we've had, fans reach out to us and take us out fishing, bring us weed, chill. Yep. And I would do the same exact thing if they came down to Brooklyn any day of the week. And I think that's something really special where you don't see that in other genres. In it's like right off the bat, you're vibing with the dude. Yeah. And it's just because you guys are fishermen. And if that exists to the point where I know it exists because it's happened to me about 10 times, I know that there's 10 million people in the world that feel the same way.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right, man. Absolutely right.
Like yourself, You come down to Brooklyn, hit us up, man.
Oh, absolutely.
We'll hook you up.
I actually think you would probably, I'm going to connect a couple of dots here, even right in the interview, because I think it would be a good fit. You should reach out and talk with Seth from the a company called Chronic Trips. They basically organize like outdoors themed events. They do like, geocache, challenges, and we're a sponsor actually for the bi-monthly Chronic Trips elevated virtual fishing tournament. It's a catch photo release style fishing tournament that's nationwide. It involves fresh and saltwater. And I think honestly, Solifornia would be an ideal sponsor to connect with that. And I'd love to see you guys. I'm going to send you his information after this. Because I just think you guys would definitely line right up. Like it's a perfect fit. Absolutely. We've got, we have been covering a lot of the action that's been going on with the anglers that are signing up and joining this. And some of them have never fished competitively before. Some of them do it just for the fun of it. And it's a whole lot of fun, but I think you would be a great fit to get into that circle and also just, enter and compete, have some fun. It's a great time. It's
that sounds sick. I'm gonna check that out.
I think it would just be a really, really good fit. Have you ever traveled anywhere specifically with the idea of fishing in mind, like specifically taking a trip to go and fish a new area?
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Yeah.
Nice.
I actually started the company after I had left my last job, Spray Ground. I went on a really long road trip through the
awesome.
Blue Ridge Parkway. So I went from New York all the way down to southern Tennessee area.
Oh, that's
Smoky
cool.
Mountains region.
Yep. Oh man.
And I literally I fished every state, just anything I saw, I would just stop and I would crush it. I mean, it was awesome. So I think finding, especially being where I'm located, I mean, even in New Jersey, New York, there's very limited, unless you go upstate, of course. But in New Jersey, it's one of the probably more dirtier or less kept states when it comes to outdoors and maintaining in nature. And the lakes aren't great. So when I go up to either up to upstate New York or down south, and I'm like, this lure's working. Holy shit. Yeah. Like you'd cast that lure 8,000 times at this lake in Jersey, and there's no shot you're going to get a hit. Only because the water's not right. It's not working. The ecosystem fucked up. Yep. So, and it's not all for Jersey, but I live around Jersey Shore, and it's not the same. So I value so much to get the hell out of there and just explore other spots.
That's awesome. What's your number one confidence bait when you're out there? Like if you're going to throw something,
if we're talking live bait, I think shiners, because I think if you don't do that, there's, something, you don't know what shiners could do, I guess. Like if you want to catch fish, get some fucking shiners.
I will say shiners are generally like the go-to in almost any kind of a situation. What about?
You'd be surprised. Yeah. They don't know these people. I would be fishing with shiners sometimes. They're like these guys come to the lake every day and they can't, they're shocked. And I'm like, yeah. And I have to drive like 40 minutes to go get them too. Because again, they don't have it here.
Yeah. So it's hard to get.
It's crazy. You go to a different state, it's like 10 minutes away. There's 10 places that have fucking jumbo shiners.
Oh yeah.
A jumbo shiner is something that people down here never heard of. A pike shiner. We don't have that.
Oh yeah.
So shiners are the shit. That's number one.
What about artificial?
Artificial, freshwater.
Yeah.
I like spinners. I like spinner bait.
Okay.
I like swim baits. And that, I like exploring. I mean, when you're in the lake, there's really top water is obviously fun to use. Recently actually got into bait casting, which is something I never did. Yeah. So that actually is interesting. That opened up a whole new world of artificial for me because it just brings a whole nother arsenal to the picture. The bait caster.
Definitely. And it's funny. Someone once had made the comparison when you're, putting together an arsenal of rods to take out with you that, you know, do different things. They're kind of like golf clubs. You know, it's like they have a specific job for this, whatever it is that you're throwing, the conditions that you're fishing, like, you know, the amount of cover, all that.
I just bought a Jilumi's rod specifically made for soft bait jigs or some shit.
Yep.
And it said it on the rod, and I was like, after I bought it, I was like, wait, what the fuck? But yeah, I don't know if it's so necessary. You know, it's probably works for all that shit, you know?
It's all about, I've always said, and this is another thing that I thought was a good connection, is there's one thing that I've said numerous times on this show since we've been, you know, since we started 6 months ago doing Jigs and Bigs. I've always said that there's a ratio to fishing. It's 1 part science, and it absolutely is. You know, you're dealing with the biology and the ecosystem and everything there, but the other part is art. And what works for you, there's no hard edges there. So you can, you know, if you're fishing with something that's recommended for one application and you're using it in another kind of way, but it's working because of the way you're working it, then awesome. You know, and you really can't question that, because it's this combination of these two elements that come together that are so very different, but that's what kind of makes the magic of, you know, fishing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's really what it's all my
To that point, dude, you know, I've had times where like I'll be fishing with a bobber, you know. My spot in particular, I'm fishing in 3 feet of murky swamp water.
Yep.
So, you know, if you don't use a bobber, you're going to get caught the second you cast.
Yeah.
But when people see content that has a bobber, you know, they go ape shit. You're fishing with a bobber. Murr.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. On the hick words, murr. So, you know, I think that's all ridiculous. I think that, you know, you should never really judge a setup just off the bat until you really understand it, you know, because then I pull in a 9-pound bass, and then I guess their mind doesn't change. That's the fucked up part.
That's the thing. Sometimes it's more about like the gear or whatever for those people. And, you know, it's unfortunate. I feel bad for them that's how they look at it. I oftentimes, it's funny. I will, because I travel with a couple of spinning rods generally when I go out, and they have very specific jobs. And I hear this all the time when it comes to spinning tackle, that they'll refer to it as the bitch stick or the sissy stick or whatever. And I'm like, you guys don't get how versatile this is, man. It's just so versatile.
That's strange.
It's like it's a tool. Like when I'm trying to, you know, put a nail into a board, do I use my head or my fist? No, I get a hammer.
Yeah, dude, these people I've been in Costa Rica seeing people fishing hand lines, kids fishing with hand lines, lugging in shit, and then these people on Instant, these America, you know, they have the audacity to get into this shit and the details of a bobber versus a spinning reel or a conventional this, that. Like, I think it's all crazy. I think as long as you're respecting nature and you're not harming any fish or anyone, then there's nothing wrong with it, and it should be, loved. There's nothing wrong with it.
Absolutely. And it's funny. Even I've seen this sort of like disconnect between fishermen that use conventional tackle and then fly fishermen are totally different breed, which I have a ton of respect for. And I really want to focus on that in the coming years and, you know, work on that. But I do often find that there's a certain demographic between both camps that kind of butt heads. And it's just, I feel like that's just humans. You know what I mean? That's just how we are. You know, it's the same way we argue about sports or politics or whatever. It's like everybody's got their preference, and sometimes people just can't let it go.
I think it's a different kind of people, though. I think the fly fishing people
you're probably right.
They're artsy. They're like art. You know, they're very sophisticated folk. Those people, you know. Then the bass fishermen are like, they're either really, really out there backwoods type of guy, or they're just regular people, right? Because it takes a lot less to go buy a rod and fish for some bass than to get into fly fishing. So it's more accessible. Fly fishing is really intricate.
And, very much so.
But I do think that the way to bring these two groups together, as well as saltwater, is through artwork.
Yep.
That's true. That's really uniting through the fishermen, not fishing fishermen.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're all fishermen. The people that are making it difficult are the extremists and extremist is a pretty crazy word, but like it's these people that take it too far, that, you know, like I said before, the dudes that have their license tacked to their head. I have nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Unless that person looks at me and like, where the fuck's that guy's license? Dude, shut the fuck up and go away.
Yeah.
And like, or whatever, you know, like, so I think that there's so many haters, but they don't even like understand why they're upset at fishermen. I think it's that they're old ways in their mind. And you know, there's a little hateful group in the fishing community for sure. I mean, so it's a culmination of that, plus the shitty ass jokes and slogans you see on shirts, on posts, and then starting to talk about females. They're posting God knows what, fish on titties. Who does that? And it's disgusting. And it, you know, again, I everyone likes, you know, boobs, right? But don't put a fish on it. I mean, it's sick. It's disturbing. The fish is the poor. It's fucked up. I mean, what's next? You know what I mean? So if that's okay, like that's not cool. So you take those hateful people, you take these people that are exploiting girls through fishing, even more so pushing more girls away from fishing, and making it more of a bad sex appeal, where guys are like, oh, that bitch, look at that bitch holding a fish on her titties. Like, that's messed up and gross. Who thinks of these things?
Yeah.
And again, these girls, I'm not bashing on anyone. All I'm saying is I hope that's not my daughter or sister, you know? No offense, but it kind of take some offense. Fuck it.
It's funny
anyone
that you
who
say
holds
that.
a fish on their titties,
Yeah,
should be locked in away from Instagram forever.
I do like the fact that there's a man saying that. Like, I think that is great, because this show is a huge supporter of all the women out there that are fishing. We recently had the chairperson from Women of the Outdoors on with, they were promoting a trout fishing event that they were doing in our community up here. We're behind them. We've worked with a whole bunch of people from Lady Angler Nation that are out there. And, you know, I think that's the whole thing. You see it a lot on social media, where it gets away from the fishing. You know what I mean? It gets away from the sport. It gets away from the pastime. It gets away from nature. And it's, you know, I get what you're saying. So we're a big supporter. I've got 2 daughters, and I just want them to be able to enjoy the outdoors, you know, without, you know, I get it. And you know, that it's such a fine line to walk. This would be a really good live stream to go and do and get with some folks and have a good discussion about it. You might have sparked something here.
A debate. You should get a debate. Get some salt life, dude. Put them on the other side. See what happens.
I don't know, man.
Film the whole thing.
I mean, it might get a lot. It might help for the analytics, but my God, it might create.
You'll get a lot of views, man.
Good God.
I'll hook it up.
I love it, man. Well, Salt, thank you, dude, for doing this. I want you to, before we wrap things up, there's 2 stories, and these stories are basically like the foundation of what this show is all about. So essentially, it's all about sharing fishing stories and stuff. And there's 2 stories I'm looking for from you. Everybody's got one of each. Tell me that story about, like, the moment we were on the water that you're most proud of. It might have something to do with a big catch. It might have something to do with something crazy that happened, something really poignant in your life that happened when you're out on nature. But whatever it is that you're like, this is the fishing story I definitely want to share. And on the flip side, I need you to share the story that is the biggest sort of moment. And every fisherman has many of those.
Okay, since your questions are lengthy, it's fresh in my mind. The first answer is, I took my entire company. This is the best experience. I took my entire company, 10 people, from New York City all the way to North Hero, Vermont. We only had 2 days to go and fish. And so half of the people that came never fished in their entire life. So ice fishing is one of my favorite things to do. It's just, it takes the whole thing to another level. It
Yeah.
feels like you're on the moon. So I wanted to bring that experience to them. Bottom line is it was like -10 degrees, probably colder. It was like the Revenant, you know? Our shanty started fucking blowing, you know, the Revenant,
Oh yeah.
the bear.
Oh
So
yeah.
the shanty started fucking going crazy, falling on us. There's girls in the shanty. I'm like petrified. Someone's gonna die. Someone's, you know, one dude's leg goes down into a hole.
Oh no.
It starts, the weather gets bad.
Yeah.
Bottom line, right? And we didn't catch shit the whole trip.
Oh no.
The whole trip. And I'm like, you know, don't even know what to feel, because now I got to go back to Brooklyn, right? To New York City.
Yep.
Now I'm like, what the fuck? You know, I couldn't even get a pike or just like a little perch, something. And I know in my head, in my heart, that if someone had caught on that, you know, I caught a little perch, it could have changed them.
Oh, for sure.
Forever.
Yeah.
So ultimately, what ended up happening was everyone on that trip ended up having a genuine, incredible time that sparked them to start taking a real interest in nature and fishing. And that I would classify as my best experience, because the worst experience turned great. And, you know, there's my answer.
I can totally get behind that, because I genuinely feel like when you're going out fishing, like, it's one thing when you're going out fishing alone. It's more about you and nature and the relationship you have there, the activity. I get that. But when you go out with another person or a group of people and you're fishing together, the bond that you create, regardless of what you catch, is fantastic. The stories that you can tell and everything, if you have a great experience doing it, it's a huge win for everybody. And you could catch the smallest fish or nothing at all and just have, you know, a great experience for it. So I totally understand that. And the fact that, like, it's cool that a business owner is going to say, all right, everybody in the company, let's go for a weekend in Vermont, you know, like, good on you, dude. That's the kind of person you want to work for. 100%. Like, that means something. Now,
hell yeah.
What about the flip side of that? What's the biggest, like, epic fail on in your experience that you've had?
They're both very tough. Like, you know, the great moments kept pouring in.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like, wow, what a question. Never thought about this. But the bad times. So I went to Puerto Rico recently, and I went out with some dude named Tim.
Okay.
Captain Tim. And I'm sorry, Captain Tim, if you're listening. But I went out with this guy. You know, I'm not the type of person that tends to go out with guides. I don't, not my thing. I feel like I'm being stripped of my independence somehow. So I like to do it myself. I feel more gratification when I, you know, find my own spot, find a local, go into some neighborhood and make it happen.
Yep.
Anyways, I'm on this dude, Captain Tim's boat, right? For tarpon. And we're on the boat. I'm on it with my wife and my daughter, and we don't catch, obviously, you know, I'll say that from now on, we don't catch anything. But the whole time, right, we're going, the guy, he didn't bring live bait. And he brought only one type of lure across all his rods. There's tarpon everywhere. They're jumping out of the water. They're near the boat. They're far the boat. I see the fucking tarpon. They're bigger than I am. I'm like,
yeah, but they're not eating, right?
They're just, this guy Tim is just looking and just chill. I don't know. He's trying, and you know what? He was trying.
Yeah,
he was trying. Meanwhile, he lives there. He does this every day. So I don't know, whatever. So anyways, I'm seeing tarpon everywhere. Still not getting it. My daughter's freaking out. My wife, they're getting eaten by mosquitoes. Now Tim feels bad. So Tim's going to give me another, you know, extended hours, right? Yep. And I'm like, okay, man, like, sure. Not sure. I'm like, fuck, we better land the tarpon, or otherwise I'm going to trip out. I don't care if my wife gets a mosquito bite. It's fine. So anyways, mid this thought, and I'm all frustrated. I'm like, dude, did anyone ever call you Tarpon Tim? And then he was like, no, man, that's so cool. I'm like, what the fuck? And then right at that moment, I was like, this guy's fucked. I'm fucked. This whole thing is not going to work. I'm not catching shit. The guy not named Tarpon Tim, Captain Tim, and he only fishes for tarpon. So anyways, we didn't catch a tarpon. I was furious because I knew that if I had my own rod, my own live bait, artificial, I don't give a shit. If I wasn't on this guy's boat, I would have. There was tarpon everywhere.
They were all over the place.
Jumped in the water, you would have jumped into a tarpon.
I'm surprised he only had one bait.
Fucking Tarpon Tim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the bait?
Such a strong believer in the bait.
Yeah.
It was like a white bucktail of some sort. I don't even know.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I deleted it from my brain
Yeah.
because this Captain Tim is out of his right mind. So anyone going to Puerto Rico, Tarpon Tim, no, not Captain Tim. Look out for Captain Tim. I'm sorry, Tim. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah, that's pretty
how
rough,
I
man.
feel.
Yeah, that's pretty rough.
But oh wait. But at the end of the trip, he gave me my money back.
No, really?
Yes. So you know what?
Holy crap!
Still said what I said, but that was the worst experience. That I felt even worse when he gave me the money back because I was like, I can't be mad at him.
At this point, you're just like, shit. Now I can't really be that pissed because that's crazy.
I don't care about the money. I just want the tarpon.
You want the experience, and you want it. Yeah, man. Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, that's kind of, man. Yeah. Everybody's got, numerous stories where things have gone to hell. Lots of mine seem to involve falling out of kayaks, or something of that nature. There's a bunch, and I've heard them all. But yeah, that is, and that's the thing. That's a chance you take when you go with a guide. You're like,
guide, man.
And I mean, they want to see you succeed because that's what they're getting paid to do. But. Man, that's crazy.
I took one of his fingers after the trip. I chopped one of them off. I haven't till today. I have his finger.
Very nice, man. So go ahead and promote your company. Let people know where they can find out more about you if they're interested in getting some of your products. This is your moment, man. Go for it.
Thank you so much, Bobby. Yeah, definitely anyone listening, check out Solifornia.com, Solifornia Instagram. Hit us up. Reach out. We reach back. We want to hear from you guys. We want you guys to help us change the world. And even if it's in neighborhoods to begin with, let's start. We already started. It exists. And we know that there's more people like us out there. And we just want to unite. So let's hit us the fuck up and we'll hook you the fuck up.
Awesome, man.
Fish like a savage, chill like a fish.
Also,
catch fish or get high trying.
Absolutely, my friend. Hey, well, thank you so much for coming on the show, dude. This is really great. I think the way you're trying to introduce fishing into the culture and make it more of a widely accepted and a cool or sexy thing is freaking awesome.
And just Bobby, sorry, and tips and jigs.
Yeah, there you go. Very good.
And I want to thank Bobby for this fantastic podcast that I had the pleasure of being on. And it was a real pleasure, and I enjoyed every damn second.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Shoot me a message when you guys do a line where you have some XXL stuff. I'm all about it. I am 100% about it.
Right on, brother.
I love it. You guys are doing some great stuff. Thanks so much for this, man. We'll be in touch, all right?
Thank you, Bobby.
All right.
Thank you.